This is the ultimate guide to scale your online business and a full free course. This is absolutely every single thing that I know about how to scale your online business, and I'm going to give you all of this for free. See, the reason being is there's a lot of BS out there and content that you do not need to know to scale your online business. So if you're an info product owner, coach, consultant, and agency owner, this is exactly for you. See, to grow your online business, you need to have a few things in place. You need to have the right offer, the right content system, and a sales system that actually turns your prospects into customers, okay? And there's a lot of information outlined that just tells you some fluff, some high-level generic stuff, and then they try to feed you into like actually their program, whereas I'm just gonna give you everything. I'm gonna show you all the funnels, all the content you need to create, how to create an amazing no-brainer offer, and become a category of one. See, I've grown my own business, Voex, to multiple 7 figures a year, and I started all the way back in 2020. This is before content was known. This is before the likes of Alex Hormozy and Dan Coe and Stephen Bartlett, all these big entrepreneurs you see online. This is way before those days. And what I started with at that time was creating content. But I knew this huge problem, which was content on its own doesn't make money. It is the offer and it is the process of how you get customers into your world and turn them into customers. So what I did was I built Voex from the very beginning, which was a small agency, a content agency, into a massive media company that works with some of the biggest creators in the entire world and some of the biggest entrepreneurs to not only create their content, run their content, build their funnels, build their offers, scale them, put in a sales team, coach the sales team, and close on the behalf of a client. And that's how Voex got to around 100K a month at the time in 2023, 2024. And then we scaled up even further and Voex expanded into an education business, helping business owners, so agency owners and coaches, scale their online business with content. And what we were able to do was we help people go from 0 to 30K a month, as well as people scaling up from 30K a month to multiple 6 figures a month. And because I have done this for myself, we've hit months of up to $300,000 in a single month. We are now able to help so much other people, and we give them all the systems, all the processes, and we actually build a team with them. So whether you need to refine your offer, make a better offer, or get the right content, this video is actually for you. And then I'll teach you exactly how you can actually turn this into an amazing process that you're going to enjoy and love doing. So Voex, a company that we have to this day, we have a content agency, we have a media company, we have an education business, and all of those allows business owners to scale their online business. And that's exactly what I'm going to be giving you today for free, no strings attached. Everything you want and everything you need is going to be there for free. And I'm so bullish on this that I've now even created my own software company called Aura, which is an AI sales performance tool that allows you to get the very most out of your sales team and be able to see the exact gaps in your actual sales process. So if you're a solo founder or you have a sales team and you want to be able to scale your actual sales team, I have an actual software company that I'm building that's actually going to be able to track all of your close rate, show rate, and coach you with artificial intelligence to optimize every inch of your sales process. And therefore, you're going to make money over and over and over again. It's going to be the unlimited money glitch. And it all starts right now, right here. We're going through exactly how I'm going to help you guys, and I'm going to break down exactly what you need to scale your online business, okay? So the 3 verticals that we've worked with in Voex, and I think this give you a bit of context, is going to help, is that we have the offer, the content, and the sales process, okay? And just full transparency, when we were just a content agency producing YouTube videos and producing podcasts and producing a lot of content, long-form content, we basically were focused only on the content. And what happened was we would grow YouTube channels, we would grow Instagram accounts and LinkedIn accounts, and we would grow them, but they were never really making money for prospects. This is what we call a vitamin. It was basically a vitamin offer, okay? But we were creating content for them, and it was growing their channel, but it wasn't turning into money, okay? People weren't buying their products and services. So that's where I had the idea to really focus in on the offer, to be able to match the content specifically with the offer. So what that means is with every piece of content that comes out, it directly, and I mean absolutely directly, matches the actual content and the offer. So everything, it goes side by side. Every offer aligns to your content. Every part of your offer aligns back to the content. Okay, so it's a one-to-one relationship. And because of that, we were able to get calls booked on the calendar for our clients. So whether it's an education business or whether this was directly in our actual media company, we had this scenario whereby we were getting the right content, and then most importantly, the sales process came in. So initially I started to do this for myself. I did all the founder-led sales. I've taken hundreds, if not thousands of sales calls personally. I've closed literally millions of dollars in sales, and understanding how do we actually coach people on the sales process and how important is that. So that's why what I'm going to help you with today is how to scale your actual online business every single vertical, because most guys in this space will teach you one thing. They'll teach you how to create content, they might teach you sales, but they won't teach you the three most important parts, which is the offer, content, and sales process, which is why I am so focused on these three different verticals. And now across our business, across our team do a lot of the coaching alongside me because they're so in the weeds with this stuff every single day. So that is why we want to set this up right now in terms of they're the three different lessons. And we're initially going to start with the offer, okay? Because if you're an agency owner or a coach, you need to have an offer that's truly going to get insane results for people, okay? It can't be a vitamin. It can't be a nice to have. It must be literally a no-brainer offer. And the reason why this is so important is because you are so focused right now on doing sales and doing marketing because your product, or otherwise known as your offer, sucks, okay? But if we can get the offer to be amazing, then the marketing becomes easy and the sales process becomes easy. But if our offer is not really that well defined, the issue with that is the fact that you're not going to be able to get ideally the right prospects on the calendar. Forget about the content right now. But on top of that, trying to get the right people to come into your world to actually work with you. Because everything top down, from your YouTube page to your LinkedIn to your Instagram, needs to mirror a no-brainer offer. So we're going to get into the actual details, and I'm going to walk you through step-by-step process how we're going to do this. Now we're going to come over to Loom to really understand like how to build an amazing offer. Okay, so if we're looking at the offer build, okay, so building offers, the biggest thing here and the biggest issue that I always see, right, is that everyone is so focused on the who. Who do I serve? Do I serve, small business owners, nail salons, technicians, fitness coaches? That is an issue, okay? When people want to go after the who, that's the problem. What they want to be going after is the what, okay? The what is the painful problem that you solve for a specific user that is easy to find online, okay? So with that, you can figure out who the who is. But what actually is the problem? Because when you go after the who, you basically just target, let's say, like fitness coaches, okay? Fitness coaches. And let's say if you're a service provider, you might run like them ads, or if you're a coach, you might help them like build like a funnel and so on and so forth, or you might just actually coach them specifically. But when it goes after what, it's what is the problem, okay? What is the pain? What is the process we're going to deliver? And then what is the price as a result? Because once we can understand this, the 4P formula on this: problem, pain, process, price, the what is most important here to get done. So think of the mental model. What is a painful problem that you solve for a specific user that's easy to find online? So the what in this instance, okay, and how we can describe this is, let's say I do help online business owners scale their business with an ecosystem that consists of offers, content, and sales. Okay, that's our specific area, because then as a result, we can figure out who in the TAM can we target. So if I go back here, when I go back to here, I can see exactly who actually is that person. So let's just say like the TAM, there's a total addressable market. If it's like biz owners, okay, it's broad enough for our marketing and our content to hit that vertical. If I'm going after just a very specific audience, which we used to do in the past, we were just helping podcasters grow their business. We do not help just podcasters anymore. I have to state that explicitly because people for some reason think that I actually do. But what we actually help with is broader business owners grow their business with content. So looking at my exact example, we used to help podcasters scale their podcast and business. But then I noticed that was literally 30,000 people, okay? It was like 30,000 people in that TAM. It was absolutely tiny of podcasters, okay? Then we swapped the positioning to be business owners. How many business owners are there? Like 300 million, dude. Like there's so many, maybe not 300 million, but there's a lot, okay? So because there's a lot, that allows us to go specifically at what is the mechanism. Because once I know as a result of who that I'm targeting, then I need to think about the mechanism. What is it I'm going to actually help people? Like, this is how I create like a true killer no-brainer offer. So when it comes to the mechanism, this is literally how you help people, okay? So forget about who, focus specifically on what. What is that massive problem? We're going to come back to that, okay? We're going to come back to that bleeding neck problem. We're going to get to that. But then it's going to come down to the mechanism. The mechanism is how. How will I actually help people, okay? So if I come in here and I'm specifically focused, let's say, on helping people with content, content is my mechanism, okay? We target specifically YouTube, and we use conversion content on IG and LinkedIn, okay? So we help people scale their online business, help business owners with content, specifically YouTube, IG, LinkedIn, okay? Let's take another example. Let's say you help executives and entrepreneurs get in amazing shape by optimizing their health and nutrition. Their health and nutrition is the mechanism. Who you're targeting and what you're targeting is the massive problem of overweight people that are literally all over the place, okay? So that's a massive, massive problem. The most important aspect here is looking in at this vertical, which is called the health, wealth, and relationships, like basically trifecta, right? So health, wealth, relationships. The intersection in here is where you want your offer to be positioned. The intersection here is exactly where you want your offer to be positioned, because if you're helping people with your offer, you need to be able to target not just one vertical of wealth. So let's give an example. When I'm targeting business owners, we focus on increasing their revenue for sure. But when we do that, okay, their relationships will actually improve, okay? And also their health will actually improve. The reason being is because their business is better, they're making more money, they're feeling more in control, they know exactly what they're doing. We can optimize for this, okay? This is how we turn the offer from being just a blanket basic offer into a real painkiller, because we can understand the health, wealth, and relationships interaction. If we can get the interaction across 2, if not 3 of these, you will make way more money, 100%. Because when we're targeting specifically, we know who we're going after, and we know how we're going to target them, and we know what the mechanism is, and I'm going to break this out in a bit more detail, then we know to make this a no-brainer offer, it has to really target these different components, okay? So almost everything that you use right now that's a very high quality offer will hit these components. So let me give an example of a health club. A very high luxury health club will take care of your nutrition, okay? They'll have a food integration there. They'll take care of your health, okay? Because you're going to go to the gym. They'll also take care of the relationships part, because you're actually going to meet new people, meet a bigger network. And then because a lot of health clubs are very expensive, you'll actually meet people that will improve your network, which is actually on the wealth component. So that's how they really interact this and make sure it's just a complete no-brainer offer. Because the way that I want you to think about this, all offers go through this almost like test, okay? Because you can make anything a painkiller if you truly make a painkiller out of it. So let me give an example, okay? So when you're thinking about what it is you're going to offer someone in the market as a service provider or even as a coach, okay? It goes through this kind of test of the initial stage is going to be, it's going to be a vitamin. And a vitamin offer is a nice to have, okay? This is nice to have. Then we're going to have a painkiller, okay? Which is stronger. And then we'll have a bleeding neck problem, okay? And we got to make sure with our offer that we target literally just bleeding neck problems. Let me give an example. So if a vitamin is a nice to have, a painkiller is a must have, okay? But a bleeding neck problem is you will die. So it's basically like debt. It's do or die. It's debt or nothing as a result. And we got to make sure that we're targeting this properly. So let me give an example, okay? You can turn anything, literally anything, into a bleeding neck problem. So let's just say I'm a fitness coach, and a vitamin fitness coach offer is I help you save time where you're tracking your food, and I give you back some of your time so that you can focus on things you enjoy in life. That is terrible offer, awful offer, okay? However, if it's a painkiller, I help you lose body fat and increase muscle to basically increase confidence, go on vacation, and basically have a great time, okay? So as a result of that, my health and my relationships have improved. Okay, and it's okay. It's an okay offer. But a bleeding neck problem is I help you optimize every inch of your health so that you recover better, you make more money because you're working harder as a result, you improve every aspect of your relationships, your libido increases, your mood increases, you live longer, and you don't die of like cardiac diseases, or we actually mitigate from early onsets of like early stages of diseases. Let's say like type 2 diabetes, everything. And we do this, I'll go through how we do this in a second, but that is like a big no-brainer offer, because if I knew, damn, this health coach takes care of all of my nutrition, for sure, my training, my recovery, but then he also optimizes it. He makes me get the most out of my life so that I can make more money, I can save time, I can get to the next stage of life, and that's all baked into the offer. That it becomes a no-brainer offer. And this literally becomes something that people would spend tens of thousands of dollars on, which they do. A lot of these health coaches absolutely print because they dial into the survival instance of the offer. Now let's use this through a biz op offer, okay? Let's just say what we were doing initially was we help people, okay, get more visibility with their content. Vitamin, super vitamin. No one gives a shit. Like full transparency, man, no one gives a shit. The second side of it was we help you grow your business and build your authority to grow your business with content, okay? Yeah, whatever. But then the real bleeding neck problem is we help you scale your revenue, literally make as much money as possible from your entire audience, optimize every single funnel, don't lose out on any revenue, get the right leads, train you how to get the leads, train you how to close the leads so that you make the most amount of money possible. That is a bleeding neck problem, because then we can start looking at consequences, okay? The consequences to not doing this is your business declines. Your business declines, it stagnates, okay? And declines, and basically, you know, any sort of stagnation or decline, or like even when you stay the same, is actually you're moving backwards, right? You're quite literally moving backwards. So let's just say as someone that we speak to is, let's say, making like 10K a month, okay? They're making 10K a month and they want to get to 100. Well, they're actually at a delta, okay, of 90K a month every month. So over the year, that's 900K. It's like over like, it's like 1 million plus, okay? They're actually lost 1 million plus for the delta. So part of my problem, or part of the painful problem that I solve, is I have to feed into this being like, look, bro, it's not okay for you to be stuck at 10K a month. There's many people that are stuck at that level. Here's how to do it. Again, looking at the health as an example, many people who build an offer around health, they'll speak to someone and someone's like, yeah, I feel like I'm a little bit overweight and so on, but it's not that much of an issue. It's part of your offer creation to really dial into making that a painful problem. It's not okay to be overweight. We'll help you live longer, get the most out of your life, basically optimize every aspect of your life, and making this into a very painful problem. Because then when we have a look at this, because this is the painful problem, we look at like the mechanism, okay? Because as a business owner, right, you need like a way to deliver something. And this is the thing I often see when it comes to like these personal development offers that are super airy-fairy, like they're up in the air, they're just kind of all over the place, like a typical like breathwork coach or like stress relief coach. It's like, yeah, it sounds good in theory, but what are you actually going to do? Like, if I buy your service, if I buy your offer, how are you going to get results? And this is an important point, because yes, you want to have the whole approach and we want to have the transformation, which I'm going to go through after this, okay? Transformation. And yes, we want to know who we're targeting and like what's a bleeding neck problem, but we also need to know what is it we're going to do? Like literally what is we're going to do? So if you are a service provider or a coach, okay, your clients, they will buy the process once the process is laid out and once we start hitting that with your content. So when in your content, we're really dialing in the actual content specifically, which we're going to come to in the content module for sure, 100% that they're going to be able to see it, okay? But that's what we need to know early on, which is the mechanism. And I have a lot of clients who, you know, they know what they want to get for like a result for a client, but they don't actually know how they're going to get them there. So we need to look at like what actually is like the 3-step or 4-step framework that you can confidently get there, because this needs to hit 3 different verticals. It needs to be repeatable, Okay. It needs to be scalable and it needs to be enjoyable. Let me give an example. When we are helping business owners scale, we focus on 3 different parts, which is the offer, the content, and the sales side. Very visual, okay? It's repeatable because how we create offers is just a repeatable thing. We look at the painful problem, as I've been describing, the mechanism, the transformation, the result that we can guarantee a client, and how we can actually guarantee that we're going to get them to that result. So it needs to be a very clear path for me to go and help someone. Same with the YouTube videos. It's very logical, it's sequential, it's in order, okay? That is repeatable. It needs to be scalable because you need to be able to do it to one-to-many. Okay, a one-to-many relationship is you can deliver this exact service or the exact coaching offer to multiple people and it not breaking, because you can't just do one thing for something and then like that's your framework. That's like not how the world works. People think like because they just grew some random account with virality that's what's going to work for everyone, but it's not the case. You got to make sure that what your mechanism is that it's actually scalable, and then lastly is that it's actually enjoyable. Okay, so it's actually enjoyable. So you enjoy delivering it. So you can do this over and over again. Like guys, like full transparency, I've created over 1,000 YouTube videos. I've worked with hundreds of clients. I enjoy what I'm doing. Yes, I have good days and bad days for sure. But for the most part, it's something that we can repeat over and over again, right? Because at that point, we get into the aspect of the transformation, right? Because with the mechanism, look at what you're doing right now, and even for yourself, why you've gotten into your space, why you are an expert at what you do, what do you love about it that you can repeat over and over again, right? Because then we look at proximity and speed in terms of, let's say, how we get them the result, which in terms of like, what's the offer we're going to actually give them, okay? So initially, we need to look at this approach. So what's the mechanism? How are you going to get them through that actual goal? What is the 4 steps, 5 steps that you're going to do? So let's get an example of short form content. We do short form content for clients as well, for in our agency. So not for info, but in our agency. We bring them in. We look at their brand identity. We look at where they're uniquely positioned. That's like step 1. Step 2 then is we look at their top performing YouTube videos, what we can recreate from there. Step 2. Step 3 is we can see what else we can add in. So we bring in our own templates and frameworks and tools and practices. And then step 4 is we assess the performance. So we assess the performance and then we go back to step 1. And then therefore we know that this isn't just like a generic thing that we're doing. It's a repeatable strategy, but it's based on like actual scientific data that shows like, okay, this is improving this way. We want to make these changes here and so on and so forth. So it allows us to make a lot of dramatic changes and just improvements overall to the business, okay? So we got to think about that in terms of your mechanism. Please, please, please ponder on that while we talk about the transformation. Because the transformation is how you get people from A to B, okay? People do not buy your process. This is the thing that I want to get across. When you have your mechanism and you're helping people scale their online business, okay? No one is buying the funnel, you know, the 4-step funnel approach. They buy the transformation. So if you're targeting people, and I want you to get really close into like, what's a demographic, number 1? Okay, the demographics are like all of your actual avatar, your demographics are they, let's say, like an executive? Are they an entrepreneur? What age are they? You know, what do they look like? What do they feel like? What do they get up to? Okay, so that's basically going to be your your demographics. And then the psychographics is what are the behaviors? So what do they get up to? So all business owners, they're running online businesses. They're interested in content. They're on LinkedIn, Instagram, creating YouTube content. What do they believe? What's their belief system? What's deep rooted down in terms of like their negative beliefs, their internal beliefs, their external beliefs, and how can we basically create that world for them to come and work with us? Because then as a result, the transformation is very clear. If you're a business owner and you're not making money from content and we help you basically transform that, you will then be making money from content. Like it's very, very logical. So when I'm speaking to someone, speaking to a prospect on a sales call, it's like, look, man, you're at 10K a month right now. You want to get to, let's say, like 50K or 100K. The transformation is you get to 50K after working with us. If it's done for you, if it's agency work, if it's if it's whatever, right? If it's whatever way we deliver it, that's a different question. But the main thing is how we actually get them to transform, because then you can turn around to your prospect after 90 days or like 180 days and say, okay, you are now here. You were back here. Okay. That's a huge thing, is showing the actual transformation, because the big thing here is like looking at like what does success look like, because what does success look like for everyone, right? For sure, it's different for some people, okay? But for some people, success could be signing up to your program, could be just like getting on the scales and like starting to weigh themselves. But for other people, it could be more lofty goals. It could be hitting their first 100K a month, hitting their first 200K a month. And like full transparency with our offer specifically, that's what we've actually done. So with Apex, which is our mentorship program, okay, it's our 7-figure mentorship program. It helps people scale. We do a few things with them from a mechanism perspective. We help them with sales and content, but we really help them on the goal. And the goal is to get to 6 figures a month, if not multiple 6 figures a month. And we've had that recently. We had a woman, Sophia, who came in that was doing 30, 40K a month. And she literally hit that goal in like 3 or 4 months. It is super, super, super clear. She wasn't at that goal, and now she's at that goal. The mechanism is very clear. With our other program, the incubator, the promise is to get to 30K a month with your business. We have many people who have hit 50K a month, 60K a month, and arguably they should be in a different program right now, because that's how we created multiple programs. We had one program that helped you go from 0 to 30K a month. It was revenue based. It was focused on that. The other one then, it was scaling up and allows you to go from 30K to 100K a month. Very, very visual, guys. So the transformation is very, very clear. So then we come to proximity and speed. And then this is when we know what we're doing, who we're targeting, how we're targeting them, what mechanism we're going to help them with. And then it comes down to delivery, okay? Because with the delivery, it's super important. It follows this curve that I have, okay? Which is called proximity and speed, okay? So speed is up here and proximity is here. What this means is how close are your clients going to be to you to get the result? How fast do they want to go? And then we basically create programs and we create offers that solve based on proximity and speed. And guys, we do this after we solve the initial point. Because when you solve a very painful problem for a specific user, it usually comes down to this vertical to understand how we're going to help them and then basically how we want to price it as a result, okay? So specifically with this, with proximity and speed, it works on 2 different verticals. How close they are to and how fast they want to go, okay? So up here, for me, we have mentorship, okay? So mentorship is the closest someone could be. This is also one-to-one, okay? Just keep it simple. So we have our Apex program up here. People go super fast and they're super close to me. They have my WhatsApp access. They're very, very close to me. This is as close as they can possibly get, okay? Then there's slightly less proximity and also high speed. So higher speed, less proximity, which is kind of agency work, okay? Agency or service-based work up here, which is huge. This is very helpful because they can get the service done for them, because if you are a key person of influence, you can basically get the service done for them on that side. Then the other side of it then is we have group coaching, okay? Group coaching, the speed is a little bit slower and the proximity is also a little bit slower. So I'd call this group coaching here, group coaching here, which is awesome. So we have mentorship here, close proximity, high speed, agency, less proximity ever so slightly, but high speed, and then group coaching then from here. And I'm going to go into a bit more detail, okay? And then we'll start looking at the real bad offers, right? So proximity low, speed low, you would literally look at like an ebook. It would literally be as bad as that, right? Low proximity, low speed, okay? Even with a book, okay? So a book down here is also low proximity, low-ish speed. And then if you look at like a basic course, like even this, like I'm putting this out as a free course on YouTube, people would usually pay like $997 or some shit for this stuff. They would charge people for that. But this is like low proximity, higher speed. So this would be like a course, okay? And we see the verticals as a result, because now we can clearly see a few things. One, how likely is someone going to get results? If someone is in my back pocket, we do one-to-ones in my house, like my actual physical villa where I live, people come. It's a pretty high probability that they're going to win, like for the most part, right? So they come in here, and they come out to here. It's pretty good, right? They have high proximity, high speed. The probability of success is pretty good. Group coaching and here, okay? So proximity and speed, pretty good. For a course, not good, because proximity is low and speed is pretty low. For a book, proximity, slow, low, and speed, low. And then on an ebook, even slower. Okay. So as a result of this, when we're trying to look at how to get results for people, when you're looking at this straight away, you can clearly see, well, the best way to get results for people is by actually having a one-to-one close offer in the beginning. So if you're a coach or an agency owner, so a service provider or a coach, one-to-one is your jam. Like, it's how you get results initially. You do that to scale it, to make money in the beginning, and you repeat the process over and over again. Because if you want to be able to scale your business, and if you want to be able to scale like your online business, what you need to do initially is master one vertical. So one offer, one content system, one sales process. It's very simple. So with mentorship and with agency, you document everything. So just to give it a context, when we had the agency on its own, we went to group coaching after about 3 years. And how we did it was literally by turning my Notion docs public, because we had made all the SOPs, all the processes, all the systems, everything had become defined, everything had become super clear, it had become very granular, that we just turned them public and started teaching people how to operate based on the SOPs. Think of how easy that is when you have a service business or a one-to-one coaching dialed in, because you have to do it for yourself, well, obviously, before you do it for anybody else. But the second you start doing it for clients, you can start to systematize that and pull that into your group coaching offer, okay? Because you only want to move to group coaching when you really have like nailed down the offer. And I mean, you can get results for people. Like, you can literally actually get results for people. And then therefore you can systematize it. So this is part of the ecosystem that we build for people, because in the ecosystem, we draw out like all the offer stack basically, and we can see exactly how we want to be able to do this and basically be able to nail this down for people. So specifically on the group coaching and the agency offer and so on and so forth. So let me come back to that in a minute. So I'm just going to make a note here. So on the ecosystem, we're going to come back to that in a minute about how to actually design the ecosystem and break it out. But I want to just double tap super quickly on the pricing, okay? Because the thing with this is that everyone's like, how much do I charge? How much do I charge? How much do I charge? If you are in the beginning and you're trying to scale up your offer and you want to get more clients to refine it, charge 60% of the price you want to be able to charge it at, okay? So let's just say mentorship and agency, they have a similar tendency. They're obviously not the same, but they have a similar tendency. Let's say you want to charge 5K a month. Start with 3K a month. So 3K a month up here, okay? Fantastic. Now you know you can sign clients, you can get them in, you can get results for people. Most important. Then after you've done this, 10 times, you move it to 4. And then you move it to 5, okay? We move price up as elastic as it is, depending on demand. So if you're meeting a lot of resistance, and I'm going to give you some examples about this in a minute. If you're meeting a bit of resistance in the pricing, you can just be like, okay, I need to get better at the sales process. That's for sure. So you're always going to need to get better at sales. There's like no two ways about that. But in terms of getting actual clients through the door, charge 60%, get your first clients in there, or get like, your new offer. Like if you're launching a new offer, it's the same process, right? I'm saying new people, but it's the same thing over and over again. And once you're charging 60%, you move up that vertical over time. Then when we move into group coaching, this is what I really like, is because with group coaching, whereas mentorship might be one-to-one, like I recently paid for public speaking, it was like 12K, okay? And I think if I broke it up, it would have been 4K a month, but I just paid it 12K up front because I want to pay in full, just like I want my clients paying full as well, okay? And because of that, as a result, that is a really good offer for me to buy. It's public speaking coaching. And ideally, that individual who I paid, they could basically get that offer and refine it even more, build out a lot of systems and process and delivery, and then deliver that as a group coaching offer. So instead of 12K, 4K a month, it could just literally just be 4K. And again, you charge what you want to charge in the beginning to get customers in. So the best way to launch a group coaching offer is to charge 60% of what you want it to be. And then you move it up. So let me give an example. When we launched the incubator initially, which was a long time ago now, it was 3K for 8 weeks. And then we actually gave people a year access because I wanted to get more data on what was working and what wasn't working and all this kind of stuff. And I did. And we made a lot of improvements to really move it into like just making money, right? We just helped me make money at the end of the day. So that was a huge help. So part of that process is we moved it up. So now since then, the price has gone from 3K and then it's moved up and then up and then up. And then we adjusted and then we adjusted and then we moved it up and then we moved it down. And we want to find like the natural cadence, okay? So that's how you adjust it. And then if you look at like all the stuff down here, like simple courses on its own for like 1K, like it's just not going to make sense, right? If you're a small business owner, you have to sell high ticket, right? You have to sell high ticket to scale your online offer because the economics just don't make sense. And let's just break it down very simply, because if you're only taking like 2 calls a week, right? Say 1 show up, and then you have 4 calls a month, and then so 4 calls a month that show up, okay? And then let's say you close 25%. That's an extra 3K a month you're adding, because it's like 3K a month. Whereas if that is quite frankly, a shitty offer and you're still closing at the same rate, it's very tough for you to be able to make more money. Whereas we want to sell high ticket because the margin for error is a lot higher. We get a lot of slack. We can break down a lot of slack as a result, and we're not really constrained to getting a lot of units, because this feeds into the ecosystem, into the content, which I'll be explaining shortly. But at the end of the day, the issue is that with your content over here, and so this is your content, and then this is your sales process, okay? If you do not have that many leads, so let's just say you have like 100, okay? You have 100, which is like low. And then let's say you convert 1%, that's 1%. You cannot sell like a low ticket offer here because you're just not going to make money. Let's just say this is like $500. You're just not going to make money. Whereas if you have, let's say 100 leads coming through, and let's say you close 1%, and it's a 5K offer, you just hit up to 5K. And then we know we're going to go back, push the content up, make sure the content gets better. The objections that were coming in are being tracked, they're being improved, and we're just making it work more for you, okay? It's just making more sense for you, and you're making more money. That's the biggest thing, is that you're just going to make more money. So get out of your head that you're not experienced enough, because at the end of the day, like a lot of service businesses or one-to-one coaching can be quite time intensive in the beginning. So when they're quite time intensive, yes, you're not Alex Hormozy, but you are using your time and you're a human. So you want to be able to charge appropriately. And again, full transparency, people don't really buy people who charge measly prices. Like we have a client, Ben, who's a great guy who has basically like a social media marketing offer. And he basically does people short form and scripting and so on. The first thing we did was just increase the pricing. I think it's around 2,000 USD now. To be honest, it should be 4,000 USD, but he's making a lot of sales. He made around 3 to 4 sales in the past month. And I might even put a screenshot here just for you so that you see it. But most importantly with him is that it becomes more valuable, because if that was $500 and I booked a call, I'd be like, what the fuck? This is obviously shit. Because if he's only charging $500, it's obviously shit, right? Whereas it's not shit, so he needs to have the price to resemble what it actually is, and making sure that he's charging the right amount of money to be able to make the most amount of money, right? We are in business to make the most amount of money. So if you want to make the most amount of money, charge high ticket, go after like high ticket buyers, people that are actually going to actually buy from you, and you'll be able to scale your revenue so much faster, okay? And now I want to show you how you can build an ecosystem with this, okay? Part of the ecosystem with the offer, okay, is that I already walked through the proximity and price thing, okay? So how close they are to you and so on and so forth. So what we want to do initially is you want to hammer basically your ecosystem, right? You want to create your ecosystem. And how we will start in the beginning is you're going to have that service business, so service or one-to-one, okay? This is where you're going to get the most amount of results for people, and you're going to be able to really get amazing case studies and testimonials. It is only after that is fully systematized that then you would move into group, okay? And this is when we move into group coaching, because at that point then we're able to systematize it and break it down. And this is really important as part of the ecosystem. You can see the ecosystem being broken down. You can see this basically being translated into real life and seeing exactly how like it fits together. This will actually improve like LTV, because you'll have a lot of people that come into your group coaching offer, and you can ram the front end with content. So you can put out more content. You can even run ads if you want to at that point to get more people into your group coaching offer, to be able to move them up into services, okay? Move them up into the service business. So I'm going to show you literally our example for this, okay? So if I go back here, so taking ours as an example, okay? We do a few things. We have basically the incubator, which is our 0 to 30K a month program. Okay, this is helping people build an offer, create content, and turn prospects into money effectively through a simple sales process. And then we have Apex. So again, Apex, the 7-figure program that I mentioned previously. Okay. Then we have Core, is the agency. Okay. You don't necessarily need an agency. Obviously, you don't necessarily need an agency, but I'm just showing you. Okay. And then what happens here is that we thought people would move in a logical order. They would come in and they'd move in a logical order, they come into the incubator and so on. But that's not the case, okay? Because what we help people with is business owners to make more money. Core is largely 7-figure and 8-figure biz owners, okay? We basically help people, we help people in Core we're like an outsourced marketing department. We run their YouTube for them, we run their LinkedIn, we run their Instagram for them, okay? Then Apex is just 6 to 7 figures biz owners, okay? And then Incubator is 6-figure, okay? And then we have Pro. So Pro, by the way, is our one-to-ones with our team in the incubator. And the reason why I show you this is like, this is what an actual ecosystem is. Because I'm going to label what this actually is, okay? Is that this is group up here. This is mentorship. And then this is service. And this is one-to-one. So as I explained, every single offer that I've been telling you and explaining and showing you how to do, I do for myself. I do it. And that's why, a lot of these guys in the info product and like agency space, they don't have a business anymore. They're teaching you how to do something they don't even do. I am literally doing this for myself every single day. And this is why the offer is king and making a no-brainer offer that all we do is help business owners make more money. And we do it through different modalities, different pricing, of course, and because it's based on proximity and speed. And once we have this dialed in, every single thing becomes easy. So I want you to pause for a second, really focus in on this, look at, okay, what is your no-brainer offer? What is the problem that you solve? How are you going to help them? What's the mechanism you're going to help them with? How are you going to position it? And what actually is that core offer we want to run? Because you got to think about what's the main front-end offer. So for us, this is the front-end offer, okay? Up here at Incubator. Because, statistically speaking, the most amount of people are going to be in that bulge bracket and the best fit for the incubator for the most part, which is great because a lot of people are in there. It's a very scalable, repeatable, enjoyable program. We have amazing results. We have many people hit 50K a month, 100K a month, 150K a month, but they've come in through the incubator effectively. And we want to make sure that is the main offer that we're getting right in the beginning so that then we can basically translate that into ascension and ascension and ascension, because that's the next stage of this, right? Is getting people to move between offers. And we have, let's say, my events over here. I run mastermind events, okay? And what happens as a result is we have people that do a few things. Someone will come into the incubator, they'll move to Apex. We have people in Apex and they'll move into Core. We have people in Core and they'll move into Apex, okay? And then we have people from incubator that comes to an event, Apex to an event, Core to an event. And that's it. That's as simple as it is. So when it comes to ascension and getting people to move across, it's honestly knowing where they are in their journey and then being able to give them the right offer. Because I think a big problem is that people are like, oh, my clients are churning, but it's like you didn't actually give them a reason, like a core reason, like a real reason to be able to work with you. And this is the thing with ascension, right? Is that to get someone to ascend from one program to the next or to rebuy from you is you need to inject something that's new, novel, unique, and different continuously. Everything in your offers needs to be like that. And they need to continuously be bringing in things that are new, novel, unique, and different. So if someone has gone through a program and they're making, let's say, 5K a month and then they're making 15K a month. Well, if it's the same shit over and over again, there's no real reason for them to renew. Like, yeah, sure, they'll come to the group coaching calls and all that kind of stuff and they'll come and whatever. But like, will they really want to spend an extra 5K with you? Probably not, because it's not new, right? It's not like something that is like novel. Whereas if we want to get people to really stick with us for the long term, we want to bring in new things continuously into our offers. And that's what I want to show you right here, which is how do we take something that's bland, dress it up, make it attractive, and make it exciting, because people buy things that are exciting. People buy things that are new, novel, unique, and different. So let me show you this. So on one axis here, we have time, okay? How long someone is in the program. And then here we have excitement, okay? Excitement, okay? So what this means is, what is the relationship between how long they are in the program and how excited are they, okay? So the normal path goes something like this. Yay, no, down. okay? And then if you look at the timelines, this might be, let's just say like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Okay, this is in months. They come in, they're super excited. And this is like the units of excitement, whatever you want to measure it in, okay? And they're super excited and they love what you're doing. And they're like, yeah, Darren's the best person ever. Like, oh my God, this is so amazing. And then they learn things, okay? So they come in and they learn like how to do X, Y, Z. And they start seeing results, because this is the thing, that they actually start seeing results as well on this level. But we want to make sure that we're always injecting new things, okay? So let me think about it. Let me pass this over to you. Where do you think we should be igniting a new offer in here? What point do we think we should be igniting it? Because there's one specific right answer. So let's just move the screen. When we're at this point here, we're at peak satisfaction. This is when you want to introduce something new. So at this point, we want to bring people up again, continuously, up this point. And then it goes into the next month, okay? It goes into 7, 8, 9. Because at this point in here, we want to introduce something that's going to bring them more enjoyment and satisfaction. So I'll give an example for our program. If it's an incubator, they're doing good and they're making 10K, 20K, 30K a month. And then at this point, we give them an offer to ascend. At this point, they might come into Apex to scale and to really want to scale up and make more money, which is fantastic. Which is the main thing, okay, is making more money for us. So that's our main metric. Or we could introduce something else like an event. Like events, new offers, okay? This keeps things fun, unique, different. We do not want people to come through here, through this plateau, and quit. Because then at month 6, and you're like, hey, the renewal's up, we gotta pay more, as if you're like a debt collector. People are just gonna be like, no, like I'm done. And it's not their fault, it's your fault. So the business owner's whole job is to make things super exciting, super new, super novel. And a way that I heard about this described previously is, if you're out for dinner and you've had like an amazing dinner and a fantastic starter and main course, the waiter doesn't come up to you and say, hey, like, do you want another main course? Instead, they present an offer that gives you like a dessert. And we want to do that with our offers. We want to make sure that we're always presenting basically the dessert, the next new and novel thing, after we have set them up and given them a really, really great offer in the beginning and gotten a great result. Because once they're on the way up, we don't want them to plateau in here. We want them to continue down its vertical. Now I think it's at this point whereby you know how to create that offer, right? You need to craft that actual offer, what you perceive to be true, looking at the problems that you've encountered for yourself or you've encountered with prospects. But then you need to validate it. You do need to go to the market and you need to speak to prospects. You need to get out there. There's a great book called The Lean Startup, and you need to like literally have a hypothesis, like you help business owners scale with better funnels. Then you need to speak to business owners, find out, is this actually a bleeding neck problem? And are you the person that can actually solve it? And I would recommend doing this as like a free call. So get on the call with people, showcase exactly what it is you can help them with, showcase them exactly how you can help them. And once you're actually in the market, you'll be able to get real concise feedback from people on what they want and what they don't need, okay? Because with your hypothesis, it's not going to be 100% accurate all the time. You need to get feedback from people specifically in the market in terms of what they need, what you can actually genuinely provide them with, and how you can actually help them get and solve that problem. Because these guys will become your clients for sure, but most importantly, they're going to give you more accurate feedback on what you actually need to scale your business, to be able to get the right, offer in the hands of people. So my recommendation here is to look at like 3 to 5 calls at least, where you're trying to figure out deeper level how you can actually help people scale, or how you can help people solve their specific problem. Getting clear feedback, recording the transcripts is super important to record the transcripts, and then you're feeding them back into your offer, because we can then use like ChatGPT to pull in the transcript recordings, go in and actually be like, hey, please analyze this call, analyze this feedback, see how I can optimize my offer from here directly. And let me actually show you an example of like how you could actually do that. So when you're directly working with like prospects, helping people out, just basically just speaking directly with them in the beginning, you're going to need to record the transcripts. So my team recorded a call the other day, okay? And I'm going to give you a prompt that basically you can use, okay? And what you can say. So I want you to analyze this sales call, keep all the names confidential, as this is basically as part of a video. So remove all the names of the prospect and as well as the sales rep. And I want you to analyze gaps in our offer. And then from the feedback, how can we optimize our offer? So our offer is we help business owners scale with content and sales systems. And I want you to do a critical analysis of this so that we are able to improve our offer, so that in our content and our marketing, we're able to really dial that in. So I always just use the voice memo of ChatGPT. I think it's great. It's very clean. It's very crisp. And I think with a lot of things you're doing, please start leveraging AI. Also start using ChatGPT 5 and like get ahead with this stuff, okay? So let's have a look at this. This was it. So basically the prospect came in. They wanted to sell like high net worth stuff. They believe that content was the heavy issue. Our current positioning is scalable content and sales. It doesn't clearly articulate how it solves the unique and bleeding neck problem of the ICP. Okay. Proof and authority. The prospect has a negative agency experience, cheap content, repetitive B-roll. With our framework of hero story plus authority, content and sales funnel is strong. The proof points were vague, saying we've worked with 8 and 9-figure entrepreneurs. It's good, but not tailored to case studies. So again, in my feedback here on my own offer is that I can give real examples of market, like examples basically of how I can literally help that person, so that he knows then that the trust barometer goes way up when he's coming in and booking in these calls. And funnel lead flow. So the prospect wants a clear, predictable system, qualified leads in, closable. Our proposed VSL indoctrination flow and qualification form hits that direction, but the way it was framed sounded like a standard sales system rather than one engineered for 2 million buyers. Funnel narrative wasn't adopted as a psychology. Okay, great. That's really good. And then pricing. So Apex at 25K, 6 months per 20K investment. Prospect lean towards Apex, but wanted time. The guarantee given if you show up and do the work, the problem we solve is logical, but not emotionally compelling. The absence of a concrete outcome guarantee, X qualified calls. Yeah, again, I don't believe in guarantees. Guarantees are kind of bullshit, but you know, for the most part, it's not bad. So again, this is my first time like really dialing this in, okay? So prospect asked for an email to follow up, but we're teamed as WhatsApp. Yeah, we don't do emails. And then recommendations. So sharpen the core value proposition. So instead of broad content sales, frame it as we help business owners attract and close high net worth clients by building authority-driven content. Okay. Introduce niche specifics. So build 2-3 mini case studies, which we do. Real estate, financing, wealth, consulting. Upgrade the funnel, a pitch. And this is actually the feedback I had from my own sales team, which is you have to talk about your stuff as if you are like James Bond. You need to be the main character of your own world, and you need to be the person that can like clearly like just speak at a very high level of yourself. Like if you don't speak highly of yourself, then who's going to speak highly of you? So when you're speaking to someone, and if we're helping someone build out a sales system, we have to believe in it. Like quite literally, it sounds ridiculous, but it's also just true. Like we need to believe that we are the people that can go and solve this problem. Always be leveraging like this specifically, and then I can basically just kind of take this a step further, and then just say something like, okay, knowing how to do this now, please break down the framework of how we help people. So what's our mission statement with how we help people, what we help people with, and what's the mechanism. So the mechanism of the incubator, Apex, core, like what is our mechanism basically, and then how can we position that mechanism then in terms of our content going forward. Now, again, this is pretty rough, right? This is super rough, but we want to be using AI like very interactive. Like we literally want to be there with it. So mission statement, we help business owners scale with authority-driven and precision sales systems so they can attract the right clients, build trust at scale. It's kind of whatever, but yeah, it's fine. Help them define their ICP, authority, we help them build trust and okay. Systems, we help build sales infrastructure. Yeah. The mechanism, core foundation, ICP clarity, incubator implementation, add structure, Apex 1-to-1. Positions the mechanism in content. Mission focused. Most entrepreneurs don't have a sales problem, they have a trust problem. Yeah. You don't need more cold DMs, mechanism. Okay, cool. And improve content, the way it works. And again, this is kind of funny, right? Because we are growing our business with content, we need all of this stuff dialed in, which is why I've spent all this time focusing on the offer, because the offer will now dictate the content. And the content will now dictate the offer. And when we create great content, that's going to feed into this as well. And that's wrapping up really the whole section on the offer, and now we're going to move into the content side. All right, guys. So now that we're finished section 1, we're now going to be moving into section 2, which is all going to be about the content that you need to actually make money. So huge emphasis has been placed on the offer, because the problem up until this point is we have a lot of people that are telling you to post daily, share this, do this meme, do this kind of BS content, be on 50 different platforms. I'm not going to tell you to do any of that stuff, right? I'm going to tell you and teach you how to make less content, but do it better. And I'm going to show you exactly how to make content that actually makes money, right? And that's the big thing, is that we are not creators. We are business owners who use content to generate leads, to get them on the calls, to close them on calls. So I want you to really realize that. And I want you to really hold on to that idea, because everything that I recommend is being done by our clients. What I'm going to walk you through, and especially the content flywheel that we really create, look, we've ran it across hundreds and hundreds of clients. And here's all the things you don't need to do, okay? You don't need to post every single day on YouTube. You probably don't even need to post every single day on Instagram or LinkedIn, okay? You don't need to be on every single platform. You don't need to spam your stories 24/7. You just need to have the right content that solves the problem of your offer, okay? And we want to basically create this world whereby we don't create content, we create assets. And I want you to really think about how to create a true asset library of amazing content. And again, I don't want you to overemphasize on everything looking perfect, but I want you to overemphasize on getting the assets done, because the stronger the assets you can create, the more money you're going to make, and the more money that you make, the more you're going to thank me downstream, okay? So I want to make sure that you have that really, really dialed in. So again, let's look at the old way, okay? So right now, up until this point, there is the old way and the new way, right? The old way that you were creating content, the old way is, multi-platform. So multi-platform, daily posting, memes, and just a ton of stuff that's a waste of time, okay? It's a ton of stuff that's a waste of time. What we're going to help you focus on is creating a content flywheel, hitting three main areas of content, and then looking at specifically one platform, okay? Because we help ideally people get set up with YouTube content, but you don't necessarily need to have YouTube content in the beginning, whether that's long form video on YouTube, 10-minute tactical videos on YouTube, even like podcasts on YouTube. Because what we want to do is we want to have one platform in addition to YouTube, okay? So there's YouTube plus IG and let's say LinkedIn. The reason why that's important, if you look at the new way, the old way, okay, is because there's something that you need to really, really know about this, okay, is the fact that no one is going to tell you this, right? No one's going to tell you this, but let's put a line through here. The way content is designed to make money is actually very different than how you think about it, because content actually can close clients overnight. So we have an example of a client called Brian who basically has a free training like this, and has basically got someone on a calendar and he closed them for 14K, okay? They can book straight away. But we want to split into two different aspects. We have YouTube, and then we have LinkedIn or IG. Now, I want you to see objectively, what is a better platform for you? If you're selling to executives and leaders, LinkedIn is a better platform, okay? If you're selling to high-ticket sales bros, or you're selling to people that are in 9 to 5, or selling to the average person who's trying to lose weight, IG is a good approach, okay? But we want to draw a line in here, because with YouTube specifically, this is mainly going to be awareness, okay? YouTube is for awareness. It's for testing ideas, showcasing that you're the person that can get the result, going very, very detailed in that. And then LinkedIn and IG is for conversion. So that same content that's going to come out here is going to be rewritten inside here, okay? It actually works both ways. So that's a very important point, is that we use YouTube for awareness, broad top of funnel awareness, or middle of funnel, depending on how deep the content is. And then we want to use LinkedIn and IG specifically for conversion, okay? So if I come in here again and I can show you on this, we want to make sure that our content hits a few things. It comes down here, it's like a bulge, okay? So it's like here, okay? Because inside here, we're going to have top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom funnel. So top of funnel, okay? Middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. Now, Top of funnel content is the story-led content you put out. Your story, your origin story, some high-level points that kind of showcase who you are. So for me, it was like my background was in like startups and entrepreneurship and building businesses since I was like super, super young. That's very, very top of funnel. Okay, very, very top of funnel. Story-led. Okay, and then I have middle of funnel, which is tactical content. Okay, very, very tactical content. Okay. And so my story-led content, my tactical content, very important. This is going to fit into the frameworks and so on and so forth as well. And then bottom of funnel content is going to be objection handling. Objection handling. So what I want to help you guys with is how to craft these videos specifically, which will actually become posts then, okay? Because I can translate this into YouTube, okay? This can be Instagram or LinkedIn, okay? Because, and then I'm going to show you specifically in the next module about how to target these people when we're putting in content. But specifically to do with YouTube and specifically to do with the content we're pulling in, there's still going to be the same points, right? So let's get into the actual like nitty gritty detail, okay? So what we have is we basically do a few things. We want you guys effectively to create a content flywheel. And inside that flywheel, like this, it's just going to move on and on and on and on and on, okay? But this flywheel splits into 3 different verticals. There's going to be story-led content, story-led content. There's going to be tactical content, and OH is objection handling, like I mentioned, right? This is our content system, process, mechanism. Because what I want to show you guys is the story-led content pulls people into your ecosystem, showcases that you're the person that's like likable, relatable, empathetic, cool person. I can vibe with them. I can buy from them. I can hang out with them. Very important point. Then the tactical content is like, oh, this person knows his stuff. Truly, he knows his stuff. I know that I can learn a thing or two about him. So whether it's health, wealth, or relationships, you're sharing very tactical framework-based content that gets them over that line. And then we have objection handling content, which handles all of the objections. So when you record your sales calls and you get the same objection, like, oh, I don't know if this is going to work for me. How does that process work again? Content doesn't make money. All the typical objections. You take those objections, you put them into ChatGPT, and then you create videos based on those objections. It's a super important point because then we have this scenario whereby we have just so much content to lean off of. Quite frankly, before I recorded this video, I was between recording this video, which is a tactical content, or a new origin story video, which I'm going to show you in a minute, which is more story-led sub content. Because how this translates is this. I want to show you like a framework of how this feeds into your offer, okay? And how this basically builds into everything we do. So this is it. So how we do this is, let's just say long form content's up here, okay? Long form. Okay, content. Underneath here, this will break off into 3 different verticals, okay? So what we want is origin story, frameworks, and objection handling. Cool, got it? So these are the 3 different types of frameworks. Ding, 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 ding. Perfect. Then from here, these will break off. I'm going to break these off, right? But what they do is they come into a call funnel in here. So all of these will feed into a call funnel, okay? And before this, you could have lead magnets, all that kind of shit, for sure, whatever. But inside of this individual parts, we're going to have a few things. What origin story content is your mission, okay? Your vision, mission, vision, and then kind of like your North Star. So your North Star, okay? And your story, sorry, of course, your story. So your own personal story. In frameworks, we're going to have tools, tactics, and trends. Okay? My friend Dakota Robertson put this really well. He has a GAP framework. He calls it growth, authority, and personal content. Okay? So that's kind of how he frames it in here. And then objection handling is all like sales calls, objections. And what I mean by that, guys, is when objections pop up, how we actually create them. Okay, like, so how do we actually create them? So I want you to really understand the structure before we get into the actual detail of like how we create each individual one. Okay, so I'm gonna look initially, and we're gonna have a start and look at origin story content, and then I'm going to actually just show you all of this stuff, and then we can go in and actually look at like live examples of like people that are crushing it, how they're creating this content, and how you can basically replicate this content. Super simple. Okay, and again, you know, if you want more help on this stuff, hit the link down below and actually just book in a call with our client success team. We literally build this out with people, so you have the full accountability, the full coaching, every single thing inside of our programs, whether that's Incubator, Apex, Core. We actually build this out specifically with people as well. So if you want more detail on that, just hit the link down below. So on origin story content, okay? So what an origin story is this is a video that we will create for YouTube, okay? Which is going to showcase you, your method, your process, who you are, and the hero's journey. This is a super valuable piece of content because people buy the product, because people buy the story, not the product. So when you are creating this, it is very, very important to create an origin story video as one of your first videos on YouTube. And this showcases people exactly who you are, right? So the process is like who you are, how you got started, what you do, and why. So one of my top performing personal-led videos on YouTube is my origin story, okay? So you want to go deeper into your background. So all into your background, okay? So for me, I grew up in like a very rural area in Ireland. No entrepreneurs in my family. No one made money in my family. Both of my family made like, I think less than like, I would say literally less than like 20,000 euro a year. Like it was super, super low money. And that was a really big part of my origin story because I was running from pain and I was running from like poverty and just getting out of that lifestyle as much as possible, which is what I did, okay? So I leaned very, very much into this. And then I look at what is the vehicle. So the vehicle that got me out of there was my podcast initially. Now, again, I don't just help podcasters, but it was how I initially started to get out of this space. So I focused specifically on helping people grow their podcast initially. That was it. And I went really super obsessed. And again, I've been creating content for so many years. I've had 300 podcasts with some of the biggest names in the world, like Iman Gaji, Luke Belmar, Justin Waller, Justin Welsh. So I have that credibility to basically include. And then that's the vehicle that got me out of there. Then I have the internal beliefs. So the internal beliefs that stopped me and the external beliefs. So again, why this is so valuable is because when someone listens to this, they're like, whoa, like Darren is a real person. Like he's not just like this like random fictional character with long hair, right? He's actually someone who's lived the life that I've lived, and he has the same interests and he wants to help people the same way that I want to help people. And this is like genuine, right? Like it shows up in the content. I'm literally recording this video for free, bear in mind. And yeah, it shows up in the content. So again, my internal beliefs are like the things that I had to overcome, right? Which is I didn't think this was a good vehicle for me. I didn't think I was going to make money. I didn't know how I was going to make money. I didn't know why. Wasn't working. And then the external beliefs then is like thinking like the algorithm is against me. You know, content doesn't work specifically. And I condense this down into a very specific YouTube video that does wonders. It showcases people, my mechanism, how I help people, who I help, how I've done that, and then all the receipts. Like it's showcasing the receipts that I have, all the examples that I have, and then it's showcasing like the new opportunity, okay? So the new opportunity for me is for you guys, get in this space, start creating content, and use content to actually scale your business, quite literally. Use it to scale your business because it worked for me and hundreds of other people. And then it's looking at like the hero's journey. So there's a great book called Story Worthy by Matthew Dix. There's also a great book called Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson. Two books I really recommend you listen to. I've built actually a hybrid version of this, which is looking at your origin story and then looking at the hero's journey and how do you combine both of them. Because part of the origin story is really looking at those chains of belief, right? What's your origin story? What's the vehicle you have? What's the internal belief you have? What's the external belief you have? You have to have an epiphany bridge in there. You have to have a new awakening of where you were initially working, I don't know, in McDonald's, you hated it, and then you discovered the info product space, you discovered SMA, whatever that may be. But what is that belief you have that you overcame? Because whether you're selling services or whether you're selling coaching or info, this stuff is so valuable to your prospects because they buy you, right? They buy into you and they see you as the person that they want to be, right? They find it interesting, they find it cool. They're like, yeah, like this is amazing, it makes sense, and now I'm ready to take the next step with you. And a lot of time is that when with this content and with your content in general is like you have to love it, right? You have to love it. You're not a servant to your audience. You are basically showcasing why you should work with someone and why they should work with you. So it shows up, right? I think it's very, very clear that you can see in someone when they just don't give a shit, like quite literally, and they're doing it to make money or they're doing it to help people. And hopefully everyone that's listening to this are in the bucket of actually helping people. And by helping people, you'll actually make more money. So I want you to really consolidate this and break this down to really understand like the nature of this, like why this works exceptionally well and what is that new opportunity. And then you give them a CTA, right? So the CTA then at the end can be like to book a call, to check out more information, to see a lot of the free content you put out below. But we want to start the journey with people. I would categorize this as like top of funnel, okay? So all story-led content is top of funnel. And now when this is created and you have this condensed video that's like 15, 20 minutes, 30, 25 minutes long, you then can utilize this in a lot of places. You can utilize this in the sales process. You can utilize this on your call funnels. You can utilize this talking to prospects and they're like, oh, hey, Darren, like what is it you do? You send them this video and they can see exactly what it is you do, like how you can actually help them. We try to put this everywhere, right? A big feedback I get from like people is like, oh, like what do I do in my origin story when it's recorded? You put it everywhere. Like, look, like this video, we want everyone to watch it. So when you're speaking to someone and they're new, they go through this content framework so that they can see that you are the person that can actually help them. And they watch this content over and over and over again. Okay, now that we're inside of just YouTube, okay, I want to show you like how to build out your origin story and just different examples, okay? Because now that you know like the kind of framework, okay? This was my example. So what I did was inside of here, I have the full origin story breakdown. It's showcasing exactly who I am, what I do, what my mechanism is, and then how you can get an amazing result, basically. So I go through literally everything, right? I go through where I started, what my journey was, what was my resistance, what was the issues I had, and what was the problems that I had. Even you can see examples here of me in working a 9 to 5. I lean very much into that kind of side of it. And then how I got into content, what I learned from getting into content, and how that basically shaped my belief system and changed my belief system. So again, looking at the origin story, looking at the vehicle, which is for us helping people make money with content, looking at the internal beliefs, what I had to shake as that, what you have to shake as that, and then looking at specifically the mechanism. So the mechanism and the external beliefs that we shook. And if I was to look at someone like Dakota Robertson, he has something similar, okay, which I thought was really, really good. Let me find it. And as I'm pulling this up, here we go. So from college dropout to 1 million net worth. So this is a really, really good video. And he just breaks through exactly like who he is and like why you should listen to him, like why it becomes valuable. And I think at the end of the day, like people really do buy into people, even though I know it's super cliche to say. But if you're someone who's just like, I don't know, like not that like nice, like not that like genuine, it can come up in the content. Like people can literally see it in your content. So you just want to make sure that everything you're doing is just super, super genuine, like super, super detailed. And yeah, it's just very, very like dialed in, you know. And obviously there's different frameworks you can have for this, but at the end of the day, you can just sketch out your own origin story, like what actually is that framework, and then utilize ChatGPT with it, right? So if I was to come back here, and we have more frameworks that goes into a lot more detail on this, but at a high level, I want to show you like how you can actually devise your origin story with YouTube, with ChatGPT, and then how you can pull this in to LinkedIn, how you can pull this into your content, and how you can really layer this up in time, okay? So the first concept here is we need to like prompt it, okay? So I want you to create an origin story framework for me. So this is my full origin story, layering on aspects of Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson, Storyworthy by Matthew Dix, and I want you to go very detailed into it from a YouTube video. So the YouTube video title will be how I went from minus 10K in debt to building a multiple 7-figure business in my 20s. So I want you to explain that as the origin story, and I want you to follow the full hero's journey arc. So don't hold back. I want you to go as detailed into it, and firstly, just show me what the hero's arc is. So this is the thing, right? You don't need to read fucking 500 books on this stuff anymore. You can use ChatGPT to bring this up for you, to bring you up like 90%. And then we can go back and actually prompt it. So, and like while this is kind of outlining, right, we now have a complete outline of a book that we can emulate, complete outline of YouTube videos and actual content that actually makes money. And then you can take that content and create short form content off it. You can turn this into a short video, right? So short form content. You can turn this into individual LinkedIn posts and you can add it to your email flows, okay? So hero's journey, again, ordinary world, what that was, okay? So the backstory and the struggle, the call to adventure, what it was, expert secrets, again, right? The new opportunity. We want to make it concrete. The refusal to the call. So when I left, let's say, then my 9 to 5, meeting the mentor, so guidance on that, who was the leader, okay? Crossing the threshold, who helped me basically like leave my 9 to 5 and, you know, build a business that I wanted. And also like the enemy, the issues, and so on. So I'm going to start breaking this down, okay? The crisis moment, the reward, the road back, resurgence. Okay, cool. So you see how it's broken down overall. And then again, this can be a 20-minute video or, you know, a 30-minute video. So let's go a bit deeper, okay? So now looking at this, let's go into the actual details. So again, just to give it a context, my background is I've started my 9 to 5 jobs. I was from a very small town in Ireland. I was really from like that ordinary world background. I took a lot of jobs. I absolutely hated it. I really, really despised it. I'd built a lot of businesses when I was younger. They all went to zero. I had 3 businesses that hit zero before I was 23. And basically we want to go as detailed as that as possible. Then I had the opportunity to join many more startups. I did reluctantly, but I did learn a few vital lessons that came valuable for how I built products when I was older. Then I had started my podcast. My podcast was a huge resurgence for me to understand. It was my mentor moment. I was able to find out a lot of things about the online business space. I started my own offer. So when I started my own offer, I had my own agency, which turned into a media company. And then I left my main kind of job, basically. And then we scaled up to 20K, 30K a month. I brought in some amazing operators. I scaled our agency to 7 figures. And then we went into the info space. And then we started having the info space being built. We started creating a lot of content there. We had a lot of like resistance, a lot of issues. We made a lot of money. We lost a lot of money. Yeah, that's really good. Then we've hit some big numbers as a result. Now we are basically helping people scale their business, scale their online business with content. And then as a result now as well, things that I've learned is that it's not actually about just creating content. It's about having the right offer. It's not about just having an offer. It's about having the right sales system. So as you can see, right, I've literally done this in like 5 minutes. And it's not like rocket science. And in this like 5-minute video, I now have this entire script being shared. And is it going to be perfect? Not really. But the way that I want you to think about content is that you don't need to be perfect with it. You just need to actually get in the weeds and start pumping out stuff. So from minus 10K in debt to multiple 7 figures in my 20s. Amazing. Call to adventure. Yeah, awesome. Crossing the threshold. So that's just one example, guys. Okay, that's one example. And even if you see this example here, or you see the example that I have, I recorded myself way before ChatGPT was actually even like good, which is funny. It used to be like absolutely terrible. So I do have a lot of that content that you can just like literally just rip like that and start reusing it, okay? Because now that we have it in here, we can come into LinkedIn and like, let's say you want to resurface this content. We don't want to have to constantly be creating more and more and more and more content. We want to leverage the top performing pieces of content and use them absolutely everywhere. So your origin story can become a clear and crisp LinkedIn post. Your origin story can just become a reel. Like if you come in here, okay, look at this. So in my Instagram right now, I'm going to show you a few things. I'm going to show you that we have, so I have my origin story in 2 places. I have it right here. So typical college guy. And always out partying, always messing around. Want to do more. Call to adventure, right? I built my first business, made a bit of money, all this kind of shit. Then I lost everything. And then I started my content. And then I scaled that up. And then from there, I hit main stages. I was like the main headline speaker, like many events. That's kind of what we're kind of detailing up here. And we're showcasing that story. I have 2 of them. Not even 1, but 2 of them. on my page. Because when people come in, they want to see, am I like them? Like, am I like this person? And is this someone that I want to actually work with? So literally, I just put this video up like 10 minutes ago, and I have the main pieces in here. So I have my origin story here, super important. And then even like this part here, this is me in Singapore when I was leaving my 9 to 5, and I'm literally just bro scaling on the floor. This is me and my wife literally on the floor, guys, of my apartment in Singapore, taking sales calls and calling people with no furniture. Why? People like this shit because it shows the story. It shows who I am. It shows why this is important, why this is valuable, why you should even listen. And if we can do that over and over and over again, it is inevitable people will buy, because they're not buying a mechanism. They're not buying a fancy funnel. They're buying you. So when we can create this amazing content for them to want to come and actually work with you, you're going to absolutely crush it over and over and over and over again. Because this is the whole logic that I want to switch into. Because now that we have the origin story dialed in, you know how to show up with it, you know what to do. You could actually even put your origin story as a highlight on Instagram, okay? And I think even if I looked in, like, if I type this in LinkedIn, okay, Darren Lee, my story. Sometimes the URLs for LinkedIn are kind of a bit crazy, right? So, but if I put in story, let me tell you a story, for a long time I was so sad. Yeah, perfect. So, bad example, but here we go. Amazing. Okay. So this is the same thing. So that origin story video is now turned into a script. That script is on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn, it's done pretty well. And bear in mind, video on LinkedIn doesn't perform that well. And I have it. It's all like qualified leads. Like these are all like qualified. Wait till the next module until I show you exactly how to speak to them, like not like a potato. But we see here, like the engagement. The engagement's super, super high, right? 12,000 people. That's a lot of people, right? That's a lot of people who are watching my story, who are seeing who I am. And then I'm getting comments like, hey, I remember from the very beginning of your journey, you were like a product owner, you're working like a 9 to 5. And that's what people remember. They don't remember your fucking funnel, right? And that's a beautiful part of it. Now, I do want to swap from here into showing you how to create tactical content, because tactical content is based on a lot of things like frameworks and tools and top practices, because we want to pull people in. Like you see the engagement here is a lot higher, right? Like the engagement's a lot higher on these videos. You pull people in, but full transparency, I think a lot of like the coaches and like the fitness like influencers, they got this shit right. They got this shit really right in terms of like top of funnel story-like content, but they got the next thing wrong, which was basically very framework-based content. They were very good at showing their lifestyle, but they were very bad at showing their mechanism. The only exception to that is someone like Jeff Nippard, who did a great job at really showing the detail of like how to actually like do shit, like how to literally do stuff. And that's what I try to do really well, because we pull people into our ecosystem, but then we also want to show them like how do we do this? So this is a reaction video to one of my podcasts that I recorded, okay? And again, he explains like a point, and then I get into the nitty gritty as to why something is a certain way. And I just think that there's not enough of that. There's not enough of like deep explanation as to how you actually help people, because yes, it's great to sell the Maldives and to sell the vacation, to sell the future state and show the origin story. But someone is sending you like $5,000 fucking dollars. So you need to actually show them what you're going to do, like literally show them what you're going to do. And that's what I try to do as much as possible. So even in here, like I have a video in here that went really well. Like we teach people how to increase their prices, right? So if you're an agency owner or coach, here's how to increase your prices. This is really valuable because people need to know how to increase their prices. And they see this video and they're like, oh, well, this is pretty valuable. I know what I'm going to do now. And then they have tactical based videos. So that's why I'm kind of showing you in the details first of like how to do this versus you just like randomly seeing like a mirror board, right? So we come down here. I have my podcast intermixed with this. We can talk about that if we need to. But a lot of the times it's not based on performance, right? How smart entrepreneurs are growing a business in 2025. This is a very tactical video that it shows people a mechanism, which is how to grow your business with content, sorry. So how to make more money with content. And then it gets people into the funnel as a result and pulls them into the funnel. Now, if we can show people exactly that tactical based content, that shows that you're not a potato. And we can get people then from there into the ecosystem. then they're kind of cooking in the ecosystem. They're ready to make a move. They're ready to make more money. And then they're making more money as a result. So the most profitable business model of 2025. And I showcase like exactly what it is we do. What it is we do exactly. And then people are like, whoa, damn, like this is like super valuable. Like I know exactly how you can help me. And then they come to the call and they're ready to go. That's the big thing. They're ready to go. So I want to give you some instances first, right? So we have story-led content, tactical content, okay? And this is also the objection handling. So when people say to me, oh, like you can't make money with content, this is literally how you make money with content. This is a fucking 25-minute video that's super, super detailed on how to set up your content system to make more money and basically be able to pull people into the right idea. So we do this because we can create these videos as like YouTube videos, but then they're also becoming our tactical reels and stuff and so on, right? So if we see in here, I'll give you any example. So let's give this. So this is basically like the most dangerous place for founders is 10K a month. It's quite tactical, okay? This is very tactical, which is showing like how we scaled, like what we do to actually scale. So what are the tactical based contents? So what I mean by tactical in this instance is like, I'm showcasing people that they need to fix their offer, improve their offer, create specific type of content, and also build out a specific sales funnel. And if they do that, they track the right numbers, they're going to make more money. So getting in the weeds, right? Performance is obviously lower, but conversion is higher. Important point. Performance is going to be lower, but conversion is going to be higher. And that's how we just make a ton of money with content. Because in here, I even broke down Hormozy's funnel yesterday, okay? Which was Hormozy's running a ecosystem model, which is what we teach people, okay? And it has a front-end offer, ecosystem infrastructure. He has workshops as a bump, and then he has an acquisition play, okay? For someone who's watching that, or even for us, right? How to actually create an offer ladder. This could be a YouTube video. So this is a very tactical video, how to create an offer ladder. So how to create a series of offers that basically make more money. I kind of explained a lot of this stuff in the beginning, which was actually the offer section. Alas, here is actually more of it, which is I have the 4 different points, okay? How to or how I. How to achieve XYZ or how I did something. How I hit 100K a month, how I went from zero, how I went from fat to shredded, how I went from divorced to happily married. Always use yourself as example. You are the best case study versus anybody else. So it's how I and how you content. Same in here, okay? How to, how I, continuously. With your origin story, it's how I. When you're teaching, it's how you, continuously. And you can share that in person too. Like you can share that, you know, when you're speaking, you don't necessarily need to write the hook like that, especially. But if you see my LinkedIn content, okay, this shit is super, super, super dialed in for conversion. So how to scale from 30K to 50K a month without ads. Very simple, okay? Here's how we do it. Hit this, hit this, hit this. It's very like logical. And it's dialing into the emotional buyer, right? So your clients are a reflection of you. Here's how to like make sure that your clients show up, pay in full, all that kind of shit. And very clear, crisp. And again, exactly here. So how to stop being a broke creator and start becoming a profitable entrepreneur. Super important. 1, 2, 3 points, okay? So that's a tactical side. That's a tactical side of how we bind it together. So having that tactical content means that you're able to get people to literally come into your world and basically produce things. So let me give an example. I have this thing called the 100 top titles list, okay? So this is what we have inside of our program. So I pulled 100 top titles from like 2024 and 2025, okay? And I broke them down. So if you come in here and you see right now, these are all the top performing story-led videos. From X to Y, and so on. Here's the free courses, which you're watching right now. This is also very tactical based content. Free course funnel, okay? So how to start an online business, how to scale your online business with content, all that kind of stuff. Then there's also like how to scale your business with content, beginner's guide to how to grow your business for beginners, how to scale your online business for beginners, 2024. 2025, showcasing really the detail. And as you come down here, it just gets more and more detailed, right? So the frameworks here are a hero VSL, which I want to show you in a second. A hero VSL is basically the main spider web that we point everything towards. Because when everything points towards one video, then your prospects come and watch that and they see a series of objections that you're overcoming in your content. The more objections that you overcome in the content, the better the quality of prospects you get on the calendar. It's a huge unlock, okay? So you need to really, really understand that concept. I'm going to show you that. And then we get into the idea of like listicles, okay? So 9 surprising lessons, 5 things I learned, 5 things I would do differently, okay? And then how-to videos. So it's very, very simple. How to start an agency, how to build a successful business, how to learn NLP, how to learn trading, okay? How I continuously. And I'm going to show you a few of the examples of like really good people here as well that are doing this. So the logic is, what happens then is we will actually create a hero VSL. So what a hero VSL is basically like your main master video that sets people before calls. So I went through this already from my origin story. The last part after that, unless you're optimizing for a different video in here, is to book a call. So prospects will come at you, they'll come in, they'll understand a specific area, and then from there they'll book a call. It comes on then as a result for you just creating very individual tactical videos and then having a lot of your association authority, whether you have a podcast or whether you're doing it yourself or you have objection handling videos. But everything points to here in the hero VSL. It's a very important point. So the whole logic is, in this video, you will pre-set people, get people on calls from this direct video. You will utilize that in your sales process. In your actual content then across Instagram and across LinkedIn, you will talk about that specific thing. You'll point back to that and then you'll DM set people, right? So in here, I have my LinkedIn posts, which again, like how to actually like do shit, okay? We have our reels, we have our email sequences, and we have our stories showcasing our lifestyle, what we're doing, and so on. Not necessarily a lifestyle like a Lamborghini, but in terms of our values, what our values are, okay? And then from here, we have DM setting from here. So just released this video last night. Check out this video. Let me know if you have any thoughts. This will all point back up to the hero VSL. They'll watch that video. As you can see in here, the video from here points back to this video. And then this video comes into the landing page. How to grow your business to 1 million with content without chasing views, okay? And then they come in here, they book a call. We move into the sales ops side, which is going to be the last module inside of this. So this is like a very crucial point to understand, is like how people come into the ecosystem and how they truly learn like everything from you before they get into the sales ops side, okay? So yes, that's one side on this side. So again, I want to show you how you can position this content to make sure that we're getting the very most out of it. So when we're creating tactical content, whether that is short form content, long form content, and we're utilizing the DMs. So we're getting the DMs running and we want to get the DMs like up and running, but we're utilizing that same framework based content and, you know, higher level story-like content as short form and long form. Then if we're going to run ads, we help people run ads as well, whether that's just indirect ads into Instagram. Okay. This comes into the origin story. Then they'll have a DM interaction like, hey bro, like I really love what you're doing. Like this is like super great fit for me. Then they might hit a lead magnet from here. Then they'll have a free training VSL, okay? Another video that's a step further down in the funnel, as well as having more of a targeted DM setting. And then they hit the call funnel, the intake call, the proximity offer. So I'll come back to this, right? But again, like we've been doing this over and over again. So Sophia did this, hit over 100K a month, okay? We've had Owen do this. He got up to 50K a month as a result. Ben did this. He got 3 clients in 2 weeks. Matt did this, got another client. Rob did this, scale his business, scale his podcast. Dean is doing this, getting 8K a month. So this concept of putting out that right content and bringing them into the ecosystem is super effective, right? It's very, very effective because even if you see some guys over here like Christian getting new ascension, Imran getting 15K clients with his content, and Owen even getting more like 15K people paid out in 1 week, which is wild because they come in, they have a great interaction with you, they have a great like feeling from working with you, and then they come down the funnel and they see exactly how they can actually work with you, which is super important, right? So the approach is we get the offer dialed in, which is super important. And this is what we do with people in the incubator and Apex too, right? We have the content dialed in. We have the content specifically dialed in. We know exactly what we're going after. We have that flywheel VSL that I showed you here. So the main content that we point towards, which is very valuable. So we make sure that we have that main content, okay? And then we get into the sales process down there, which we'll come back to in a bit. But we got to make sure that that content is being hit over and over and over again. So every time you add a piece of YouTube content up here, it feeds into the top. it feeds right into the top up here, okay? So let's take a few examples of people that are truly crushing it right now. So if you come in here, and even if you look at, let's just look at my client, Jordan Platten. So Jordan has a YouTube channel, and he basically helps people scale their agency. So start, grow, and scale their agency. He has very personal-led videos, but then he also has very tactical-based videos. So how to do anything, basically, okay? So he makes sure that he's hitting those verticals over and over again. We go back to the key topics in here. We can see this process repeat itself. If I was to achieve the goal, how to do something, listicle videos, free course videos, hero VSL. And like, if you're like, oh, but this is only like 10 videos. These 10 videos will take you so long to record at a high quality. And if you're putting out 2 to 3 videos a month, you're going to start printing. Like, you're going to make so much money from this if you just follow it down. Like, that's the irony, right? Is that this is the tactics. This is exactly what you need to see. This is exactly what you need, right? And it's all in here. It's literally all in here. So taking examples of how to get ahead of 99% of people. Let's say you have a fitness offer, is like how to get ahead of 99% of people as an executive, and you help people with fitness. And the more detail you have in here, like literally the better, right? So looking at his top performing videos for Jordan in particular, just like over the years, it's all very concise and detailed videos. It's very concise. It's very detailed. He's giving his audience so much stuff, like it's like so much stuff, so much amazing content, which is so easy why they want to go and work with him. Same with my content, right? It's very tactical, it's very framework based. You come in and you see just everything, like everything you need over and over and over and over again. This is a new video, and you just come in here and you can see the same thing over and over again. So we want to make sure that we have that dialed in, and it's hitting those different verticals. All right, guys. So now I want to showcase you a few things. One, about how do we distribute the episodes? How do we make sure that the content we're producing is hitting? And how do we make sure that the copy is super dialed in? So as you see here, the structure of how you write your titles and your thumbnails is super damn important, okay? So as you can see here, everything is short, sub 50 characters, and you see 13 years of niche advice in 85 minutes. 40 brutal truths. A lot of it is focused on the dream outcome. It's focused on where they can get to. It's focused on where they should go with their content. And then it's diving deeper into the opportunity. So they either run towards pain, towards pleasure, or run from pain. So we got to make sure that we capture that inside of here. So 6 steps become why, 7 productivity hacks, okay? 7 things I learned from why, 9 surprising lessons I learned from. This is how we're going to package your episode, because our videos, anything to do with our video content, anything to do with even our hooks, the hook needs to be super dialed in. The copy needs to be super dialed in. And this is how we actually do it, okay? So from homeless to X house, okay? From idea to Y, he makes X with Y, how I turn Y to A or A to B, okay? You need to be able to really capture that essence and dive into short titles. So as you see from here, some of my very tactical videos, you see here how to become the person you want to be, why writing is the most profitable skill of 2024, 53 minutes of sales training to explode your sales, copy this content strategy, what I would do if I had to start from zero again, okay? Over and over again. In my guys, he opens up about his $100 million empire. We just got to make sure it's clean and concise. Same with the headline, the titles, okay? Same with the thumbnails. As you can see here, position the headshot. It's bright, it's clear. Same for my mastermind. The 1 million business model I shared with 20 founders. It's bright, it's clear. There's 2 to 3 headshots in here. You see all of my podcasts. 1 headshot on the right, supporting text on the left. This is very, 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 very valuable, right? The more content we can get here that mirrors this, the better our funnels and the better our system will be, because the content will do the selling for us. So we got to make sure that it dives very deep into what our offer is. So again, a video on my mastermind is more applicable than anything else, and I can showcase specifically why that's actually valuable, okay? So diving into that, very valuable, very clear, making sure that the titles are crisp, clean, sub 50 characters, always focusing on dream outcomes, how to get ahead 99% of people, how to grow your agency, how I turn X into Y. Always making sure that it's clear, concise, has a clear transformation, and it's very simple, because then we move into what does release look like, because full transparency, you can't release YouTube videos every single day. You can release YouTube videos like once a week. When we create YouTube videos, we want to make sure that they stand the test of time. They are sales assets. They're not just like a disposable piece of content. When we have them up on YouTube, then we know that we can utilize them in DMs to share with prospects. We know that then we can take the core content from that YouTube video and turn it into shorts, turn it into LinkedIn posts, but basically utilize the content as much as possible. Because when you're having the content coming out, you have to make sure that it hits very closely what your actual offer is. So we're only clipping things up that translate into your offers. Let me give an example in here. The questions that I ask here is about, so using content to make money, quite literally perfect. This is from a podcast that I recorded, and I'm literally explaining how you use content to make more money and how to actually do it specifically. If I know that that's dialed in, or even like a presentation, this presentation here that I'm speaking at, or this clip that's coming from, is coming from this YouTube video in here, and making sure that the YouTube video maps this very well. Sorry, man, you have to cut this out. All right, so the keyword is cut this out in the transcript. And then it all matches this directly, okay? Because this presentation that I gave, I recorded. The quality actually isn't even that good of the recording, but it doesn't matter because it showcases exactly how I can help people. So what you want to think about here is the volume, right? So we're going to swap right now to my iPad, back to the iPad, and we're going to look at a content schedule for you that you can really map. Now that we're back on the iPad, I want to go through a realistic schedule for you and your content to hit, okay? So we have a few things up here. We're going to have YouTube, and then we will have, let's say, like IG and LinkedIn, okay? Now, I recommend initially pick a platform with YouTube and then have YouTube as the core asset, okay? And then we have here our conversion. This is a conversion asset, okay? So if you're not that comfortable with LinkedIn right now and you feel like your offer is better for IG, that's fine, and then vice versa. Because for YouTube, all we want to hit, okay, is 2 to 4 videos a month. That is perfect, guys. You do not need to do overkill with this. It is so different for me, who has a production team, who has like a large company, who's doing this on a daily basis with like sales reps and editors and designers and payroll, all this kind of stuff. It's just a different ballgame. But this is the stuff we need to hit on a daily basis. When it comes to LinkedIn and IG, 5 posts a week, okay, so 5 a week is most important here because we're getting that volume out. It's origin story, okay? It's tactical, it's frameworks, it's trends, and it's objection handling content. Stuff that's coming up in your sales call, that's basically causing resistance. We're documenting that down. And then when it comes to IG, we have our story frameworks. When we have our stories, we can basically, this is IG stories, by the way, this is IG stories. We can basically showcase a lot of this content in our stories. So let me give an example. If I was helping people lose body weight, I could have like 3 slides. So this is like 1 slide, this is 2 slide, this is 3 slide. This slide I can cause out the problem. Most people are overweight. Here's a solution. It's basically my mechanism, my 3-step mechanism, and then here is the CTA. So the call to action, book a call, or check out this free training, and so on and so forth. With our stories on IG, we want to be more active, but we want to be active in the right way. We don't want to put out absolute bullshit. What we want to do is we want to showcase exactly how we can help people and what is a method that we can help people with. If we can do that, we'll get qualified buyers coming in that we can actually hit and interact with on an ongoing basis. And then we know then our actual bare ass minimum is 2 to 4 YouTube videos a month. Perfect. Great. Amazing. We have these posts coming out as YouTube videos, they're turning into IG posts, they're in as LinkedIn posts as well. We can create those natively, or we can use these directly from here. So you can create them basically from here, vice versa. I would say to do a combination of both, right? I was just speaking with a client yesterday, a very high profile client, and we do a lot of his YouTube content, and we bring his YouTube content into LinkedIn, okay, and IG. But the thing is, you know, a lot of this stuff, when it's clipped directly from YouTube, it doesn't look great. It doesn't look very native, okay? It's kind of like it's trying to like do CrossFit in a bodybuilding gym. It just doesn't really work, right? You kind of want to have the right pattern. So if you can remake some of them as individual clips, which is very helpful, okay? or just keep them super raw. Just have your iPhone up, be like, hey guys, like this is what I'm talking about right now. This is what I'm thinking about. I have a YouTube video on this, but here's a bit of a drill down version on it. We just gotta make sure that the content is very native. That's why we don't post YouTube videos into LinkedIn. We write posts specifically. So we write the post in here, and then we link backwards into the YouTube video as a result. So this makes sure that it's very cohesive. And the LinkedIn posts specifically, they're just very, very targeted, okay? Because we are trying to generate leads, right? We're trying to generate actual leads from the content. And when we do this in this way, we create a flywheel effect, because part of the ecosystem then is that you have content coming the whole way around, right? So what happens is people watch a YouTube video, so they see you on YouTube, okay? Then they see you show up on LinkedIn. They might see a post from here, okay? Then they're seeing IG over here, and they come from LinkedIn to IG. IG pushes them back into YouTube, and then YouTube might push them literally back into IG again. Or they might go from IG back to LinkedIn. And at that point, then they're going to come from here and they'll book a call. People don't move in linear fashion. They actually rotate around. So the more that we can get that rotation up, we just want to make sure that the content that we're creating up here is very specific. It's specific to here. It's framework based. It's story based in here. A lot of this content will perform 10 times better if we can have it starting from YouTube and working its way backwards. Now, again, you create it natively for each individual pattern. And I think this is the best way for you to actually be able to scale your business, because then what we can do is we can look at something very important called bare ass minimum, okay? Now, bare ass minimum is the metrics you need to hit to be able to make money, okay? So you cannot put out one video on Instagram a week, a month, and actually make money from content. It's just not possible. Like you have to play the algorithm a little bit, right? And what I mean by this is if you put things into buckets, YouTube, IG, LinkedIn, the bare ass minimum, right, on a monthly basis, this is a monthly basis, is like 1 on YouTube. Bare ass minimum. I would literally say 2, okay? On LinkedIn, it would be 3x. On IG, it's 3 posts a week. It's a week. And this is 3x a week. That is your bare ass minimum. The ideal state is 4x, 6x a week, 6x a week. And then from here, we can assess performance based on this. So the reason why I'm saying this, and the reason why I'm saying you need to understand your BAM, is because if you haven't put in the minimum requirement to be successful, then how do you know what's wrong, or why is it the thing, there's something wrong with the thing, right? There's nothing wrong with posting content online. It makes money and it helps you make a lot of money. But if you're just posting bullshit, it is something wrong, okay? So if you're hitting your requirements here and you're not getting leads, like you're literally not getting leads, it's like tumbleweeds, then yes, it's a content issue. But if you're up here and you're not producing enough content, then it is a volume issue, okay? Under the theory of constraints, we need to look at where is a constraint in your process. And right now, if you're not producing enough content, it's literally down to the fact that you're not getting leads because you're not putting out enough content. And content, again, doesn't specifically sign clients, but it starts the journey with your prospect to be able to work with you. But if you don't have the content in existence, they're never going to be able to work with you. Like they're quite literally not going to be able to come and work with you. So I really want you to try look at what your BAM is right now. Are you producing enough volume right now? And then of that volume, what is good quantity? What is good quality? So the leads that we're optimizing for, and when we're looking at like what are we optimizing in this process, is we need to see like what are the laps, okay? So how much leads, appointments, presentations, and sales are we making? If you are down here right now with your content and you're making 0 sales and you're taking 4 calls a week and you book 10 calls for a show and you only interact with 100 people, let's say 1,000 people a week. So you're interacting with 1,000 a week, which is quite a lot. Let's just say like maybe like 500. You're booking 10 calls for a showing. We can look at under the theory of constraints where actually is the issue. So this is a show rate issue and then this is a close rate issue. But the thing is, if we have a hold of this, we can manipulate the front end, which is the sales and marketing side, to see what needs to be done. Okay? So this is why we walk through the process of offer, content, and sales. Because as a business owner, you need to get clients. And you need to use content to get clients. So if you're up here in imaginary land and you're putting out 2 LinkedIn posts a week, okay? A week, you cannot hit anything, okay? So let's just say you do manage to close someone, you close 25%. So you close 1, okay? And you're only putting in 2 posts a week. Well, then in theory, you know you can ramp this to 4 or to 5, and you'll probably close 2, book 6, show 6, book 12, and then have an extra like a couple hundred people to speak to. So that might go up to like 700 or something, okay? That was 500 originally. So that we know that we can basically manipulate the numbers, because a lot of content and marketing, all the marketing is to do with pressure, right? It's like if you imagine like a valve, you do need a certain amount of throughput coming through, whether that's organic or paid. You need a certain amount of volume to come through to be able to book them onto calls. Like there needs to be a certain amount of volume. If you're not putting out that volume, you can't expect to make money. Like you just can't. Like you're literally in imagination land. If you're just not hitting your minimum, your bare ass minimum volume of content, you're just not going to make money. Like straight up. So I want you to really think in terms of metrics. Inside the incubator, we actually track all these metrics, and I literally personally review a lot of the content metrics from my clients and see where they are in this journey and why they're not actually closing more, why they're not making more money, and how can they actually make more money. So you need to be in the detail of your content metrics before we even look at your sales metrics. And the next section here, I'm going to go deeper into sales metrics and like how to really track everything. But at the very, very least is you need to hit that volume of content coming out on a weekly basis. And if you have that title content, personal content coming in, making sure that we're putting out the volume, you will make more money. 100%. 100%. And now in the next module, I'm going to walk you through exactly, and I mean exactly, how you can optimize your sales funnel and book more calls and set people and make more money with that. All right, guys. So now we're in the final section, which is actually the sales section. This is the most important section. And it's actually a section that I actually enjoy the most, right? Because let me have a bit of backstory. When I kind of got into the space, you know, as I mentioned earlier, I was really focused on the content. I was really focused on creating amazing content, but I wasn't making money, right? And I was probably too proud to send DMs, especially before I went all in on Voxer company. Then when I started, I realized that I didn't have enough content, but I was doing a lot of content. I was doing a lot of outbound. And then I realized it's a marriage between the two, because your offer and your content create the sales opportunity. And then it's up to you to go after the sales opportunity to close it. It's a very important point. You need to be able to track and go after it. So the most important part is running through this process. And I'm going to really integrate everything into this to show you specifically how we integrate absolutely everything. And I want to walk through 3 different parts, okay? I want to walk through all the funnels, all the sales ops, everything you need on the sales side. I want to walk through the DM process, and then I want to walk through the call process, okay? I'm going to be showing you some stuff that's inside of our big programs, and I'm going to be showing you specifically how you can actually utilize this, okay? So I'm going to open up initially LinkedIn, and I'm going to go through exactly how to spot opportunities, where opportunities are, and I'm going to show you LinkedIn and Instagram for you to just basically hammer and just get a shit ton of clients. So by the end of this, you're going to be able to make a ton of money, basically. Okay, so we are in LinkedIn right now, and I want to show you this concept called sniper selling, okay? So LinkedIn, Instagram, same shit over and over again, right? I'm going to show you basically how to find leads, how to find opportunities, and how to make the most amount of money possible, okay? But before that, I want to show you how we need to optimize our pages as landing pages, okay? So as you see here, coming into YouTube specifically, okay, everything is basically like a landing page. In Instagram, on YouTube, it's helping you build a 1 million per year online business with content. You come in here, you have all the funnels, okay? It's a YouTube specific funnel. And then we have LinkedIn, Instagram, everything is connected, okay? And then we have the testimonial channel in here with all my testimonials, which is really awesome. And then we have our software company too, Aura, okay? So it's all, everything's connected, man. Absolutely everything's connected. And then specifically in LinkedIn on the landing pages, which I'll come back to afterwards, we have how that's set up, how the structure of the landing pages are set up, even the call funnels in here that you guys can like basically emulate. And then we also have what the process is, okay? So top down, what's a dream outcome? Scale your online business with offers, content, and sales. Scale your online business with content. Hitting the funnel, okay? This hits the funnel. Same on Instagram. In Instagram specifically, you come down here, you see our exact offer: scaling your online business with content and sales, CEO of OX, join the waitlist for our software company. Then we see receipts. It all goes results. Get results for people, get wins, show people the stories, show people how you get the examples, because your IG and your LinkedIn is your landing page. You don't need a landing page. You just need this to start with. This will get you so much further than anybody else, okay? And then when we get into here, onto the stories, let me show you. Specifically, this was a story about my mastermind, top of funnel, showcasing, getting interesting, asking people like, are they literally interested? This is me explaining my new software company. I go through some valuable things. I show behind the scenes. I show exactly what's going on. Then this is a tactical video. Once again, we're in the tactics, we're in the detail, getting interest, okay? Over and over again. Behind the scenes stuff. Here's my dogs. Here's my dog looking like a G. Just funny stuff, cool stuff, like things that are interesting. We just put this up like an hour ago, okay? And just show, like, this just shows like my values, who I am, what we do, all this kind of stuff, which is very, very valuable, okay? And over again, we can see who's coming in here, who's liking it, who's interacting, all that kind of stuff. And then more content over and over again. So that content is going to be created almost like over and over again. And now we have the same thing happening on LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, we have the landing page, the bio, which is a landing page. It's landing page copy, okay? The link to the CTA, to the landing page. And same on Instagram, okay? We have, in here, we have the 3 links. We have the funnel. We have a free training. And we have the waitlist for my software company, okay? So over and over again, guys, it's the same shit over and over again. So whether you're like, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, just think of it the same way. And then we have the content coming down here. We basically have this back into a hero VSL, and this comes back into a hero VSL, comes down here, sets people onto the funnel. Think about this. Just think about the logic. Like, it's impossible to lose when you have these things set up. Like, when you have everything working together side by side, it is literally impossible to lose, right? So let me go back 1 second. Okay, cool. So we're back in here. Now that we're back in here, we can start what we call sniper selling. So we have the content coming out. I've already talked about the content for the past hour, okay? So you know what content is. There are 2 different dimensions with LinkedIn specifically. There are likes. These are people who are top of funnel, who are showing interest, who maybe have spoken in DM, who you've chatted to. And then there are comments, okay? So these are the comments that are coming in here. I don't respond to some of the AI comments. I think they're kind of just like, they're just weird, right? It's just AI comments speaking to AI comments. But for some people, I do get back to, and ideally we should get back to all of them, right? But they're the 2 different dimensions. The people that like are leads. People that engage are warm leads, okay? On Instagram, the people who like are leads. The people who engage and comment and so on are warm leads, okay? Over and over again. So we come in here, we see who's interacting, who are like the usual suspects, basically. Who are the people that are constantly coming in and interacting with our content? That's who we can ship, right? So we sniper sell, we see who's engaging with the content, we see how we can interact with them, and what's a unique angle. Everything needs to be customized, right? I'm just going to click on like a random profile. We come in here, and if I just see like a random profile, I might see, let's just take an example. Let's just take an example of Robert Greene, okay? So Robert Greene, what is this guy up to? He helps business owners automate and delegate to save tasks. This is when we move straight from just having the content on its own to deplatforming people, which is like, hey, Robert, sorry, like, hope everyone's going well. Thank you so much for engaging with the post. I'm trying to grow my LinkedIn, so this is super valuable. He would come back and be like, yeah, like, great post, really engaged. He came to me, bear in mind. And then it's like, oh, how's everyone coming along with your automation business? Super valuable timing you doing that. It's a very valuable offer. And he's like, yeah, man, it's good. And then I'm positioning him as to where he wants to go next. So how is the growth of the business coming along? Are you growing the business right now? Yes, doing well, having a bit of an issue, not really doing anything. All I'm trying to do right now is follow the 4 Ps. Problem, pain, process, and then it will go into price once on a call. So specifically, all we're trying to do is find problem, pain, and ideally duration of the pain, okay? So taking Robert as an example, hey, Robert, so you're trying to grow your business. How is it coming along right now? Are you getting enough? Like, are you growing your business? Like, how can I help you? Oh, I saw your post on like how you're basically growing like your software company or your info product. Yeah, it was like super inspiring, whatever. And I would go back to him then and say, okay, what is it you're doing right now to grow your business? Like, what is it right now you're actually doing? And he's like, oh, I'm not doing much. It's like, okay, well, you told me you want to grow your business. So what goal do you want to get to? If you're making 5K a month right now, where do you want to get to? Oh, I want to get to 50K a month. What is it you're doing to get to 50K a month? Fuck all. These people do fuck all. They're not doing anything. So it's up to us to be like, okay, no problem. Again, ask for permission. If you don't mind, I'm happy to share over some more details. We utilize these assets in here to share some details. So if he's trying to grow from organic content, I'm going to share a video over here, how to grow with organic content, okay? How to fix your offer, how to improve your sales process, how to improve in everything. So if he's having an issue with his content, offer, or sales process, I know exactly how I can help him. If he's coming in cold, I'll know specifically which video that I can share with the prospect that's going to solve that specific problem, to start the journey with him, to go deeper in the trust barrier that I'm building with him, but also to solve his actual fucking problem, which is how he's going to end up actually coming in and becoming a client of mine. Because if I can actually solve his problem and showcase that I'm on potato and showcase that I'm somewhat likable and trustworthy, then he's going to want to do it, right? He's going to actually want to do it. So it's a very important point to look at what it actually is, okay? So every single conversation, we're opening up, hey, Darren, thank you so much for engaging with the post, or really appreciate it. How's everything coming along with your business? How's everything coming along with your automation business? Because I can find people so damn easy in LinkedIn, right? I can find out every single thing about them. So Alexander, building AI assistants to install inbound lead capture. Amazing. I already have a ton of AI clients. I can be like, hey, Alexander, I'm awesome to hear about this. I have a ton of clients at the moment that are actually in the AI space. Do you mind if I share over a video on how we actually help them? Yes. So we're walking through that journey. And then at that point, then he's seen this problem. We've stretched the gap. There's a fantastic book on this called Gap Selling. There's a huge gap being stretched. We're able to identify clearly that we can actually help this person. And then it just comes down to, look, Alexander, from everything you told me, we can definitely help you. If you want, I can walk you through how I can help you. We can hop on a call and I can walk you through that. It's important. Ask for permission. Alexander, from everything you told me, we can definitely help you. Here's how I would help you. If you want, I can show you on a call how I could help you. Let me spit that again. Hey, Alexander, absolutely, man. I know you have a problem growing your business. I know you want to get to 100K a month. I know you don't really know an inbound, outbound strategy. And your sales could probably do a bit of work, for sure. Let me show you, if you want, how I can help you and how we do this for many other clients. If you want, we can hop on a call. We optimize for a call funnel because it's the most profitable funnel that there is. You can scale the most. You basically have a predictable way to make more money. You're going to be able to make as much money as you want because you know exactly how much call volume you're getting in, how you're basically doing this, and so on and so forth. So it's a very important point, basically. So you need to be able to understand where that is. And then every single day when you're coming out with new content, you're seeing the same pattern over and over and over again. Who's clicking, who's liking, who's clicking, who's liking, who's coming into the world. And then when they're in here, you just want to make sure that we're hitting pain, problem, ideally duration of problem, and then process, okay? Because if you could help, like if I could help business owners get more leads by licking the window, someone is going to do it. Like literally someone is going to do it. I just need to be able to find that right little path, and I don't need to over-engineer it, because now I'm going to show you in a minute about how to actually build out the call funnels so that you can optimize your call funnel so that you can book as many people as possible and DQ super hard. Because when we're engaging, we just want to make sure like the obvious things, right? That they're from a financially qualified country. They're from a country that are actually going to like take action. They are a business owner for me, because we sell like B2B stuff, and they're ready to take the next step in the journey. They're ready to get started with you. So whether you're selling health, wealth, or relationships offer, this is literally the best way to be able to scale it up, okay? Because we just put out really targeted content across YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn. We use LinkedIn, or specifically in here, we use this as our conversion content, and we can basically work it up. In terms of like metrics, right? I'm going to show you some insights of our Apex program. This is my 7-figure program. I want to show you some ideas of like how much we need to hit, okay? Because you want to be hitting 50 new people a day, 50 follow-ups a day. You want to track shit in a CRM. You want to track stuff in trackers. And ideally, you want to get the hell out of spreadsheets. And if you use a tool, a software tool, Aura, my software tool, it will track all your calls being booked. It will actually show you your show rate, your close rate. It will show you how much money you make. And it will show you where in the funnel are you actually messing up on. Is your funnel super tight? Are you booking a bunch of time wasters? Are you not booking enough calls? And what you can do to actually book even more calls, okay? But at the very beginning, we basically just need this thing whereby We need to have the right calls outbound being sent out, so the DM setting. We need to understand our close rate, our show rate, our book rate, how much people we're booking, and how much people are we actually hitting on a weekly basis, okay? Super, super important, because then we get down to messaging, okay? Because part of the messaging is understanding like the core concept, right? What is like the actual thing we're trying to do is we're trying to connect with our ICP who is ready to buy, okay? ICP isn't just someone who wants to solve your problem. If you look at someone like Hormozy, right? Everyone is willing and able to work with everyone is willing to work with Hormozy, but not everyone is able to, because his price is like 50K for like an hour or some shit, right? But they all want to. So your ICP isn't someone who is able to work or willing to work with you. It's someone who is able to work with you. It's different. It's completely different. So we need to hit willing and able consistently. So then our outbound strategy is we put out the content, we hit 50 new outbounds, 50 follow-ups a day. You will book a shit ton of calls if you do this. We want to make sure we're targeting the right ICP, and then we're hitting them with the right approach, which is appreciate connection. How's everyone coming along with your offer? Thank you so much for engaging with the post on this. How's the business coming along, right? So how's that offer been going for you? How's the podcast been coming along? How's the videos been coming along? How's your short form been coming along? It's the same shit. Same for Instagram, right? We want to keep it a bit more natural for Instagram, a bit more kind of like organic, a less tactical, because the platforms actually are wildly different. Like they're very different on Instagram versus on LinkedIn for openers, right? For openers. And again, we want to make sure we follow a same approach, which is ACA: acknowledge, compliment, ask. So someone says, yeah, I have an automation business, I'm trying to grow it. You acknowledge. Amazing, you have an automation business, great timing in the market. Compliment. Not many people are able to crack it. You're doing a great job. Ask. What revenue goal do you want to get to? ACA. Ask, compliment, ask continuously, because you want to be able to provide value in there, being like, look, absolutely, I know a ton of people who struggle building out their offer and getting it refined. We actually have a training on how to refine your offer. Do you want me to share it over? Ask for permission. Are you open to me training? You're open to me showing you how you can actually do this, basically, and then booking a call. We'll get to that in a minute, right? But the biggest thing with booking a call is we want to make sure that we ask. Again, for permission. It's like, hey, Johnny, from everything you told me, we can definitely help you. Do you mind if I set you up with my head of client success? Do you mind if I set up with my sales team? Do you mind if I set you up with myself? And we can take a call on this and go through it in detail. But that is only done, only ever done when you actually have your pain problem solved, okay? It has to be solved. There has to be that gaping problem, because part of gap selling is understanding their current state. Where are they currently in their life cycle? Are they fat, lazy, broke? Are they out of shape? What is that current state that they're currently in? Where do they want to get to? What does success look like? What does a future state look like for this prospect? And where do they want to get to in their life? How can you detail specifically how they get there? So if that business owner is an automation expert and they're not making money, it's very clear where they want to get to in the future. And then we need to look at the current process. What is the root cause and the problem? So the symptom is no money. The root cause is a skill issue. If they're not making money, they're probably just literally not good at sales, or they're not good at content. We need to identify what is that root cause problem that we can actually help them with. So it's like, hey, Johnny, from everything you told me, the business that you're at right now, you spent 2 years doing this. You should probably have more than one client after 2 years. What you need is a content system or a sales process or a better offer. Here's how I suggest doing it. But we need to document clearly what is that actual problem initially we're going to solve for them, and how can we actually help them get to that next level. When we have that down in terms of the current state, we want to look at, after the current state, what is, again, the root cause? What is the problem? Connecting it to the future state, where do you want to get to? We can do this in DM, bear in mind. With the problem and the pain, we want to connect the current state to the future state. And then we want to clearly look at, okay, personally and professionally. Because professionally, Johnny may want to make 100K a month, but personally, he may want to have a kid in 2 years' time. And if he wants to have a kid, he wants to take some break. And he wants to take some break, he's going to have some money. So again, health, wealth, and relationships. He wants to make 100K for wealth, but he also wants to have children in 2 years' time, which is on the relationship side. And then also from a health perspective, he feels like super burdened underwater right now, so he wants to hire a good team. Ding, 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 ding. This is how I can help someone. Health, wealth, and relationships. He wants to get his time back to work on his business, not in his business, to make more amazing content. And then he wants to, on top of that, be able to create like amazing life outside of the business. So it's like, yeah, man, like that's a huge value for me as well. personally, I'm married. I, have my dogs as my kids, and yeah, like this makes sense. This makes total sense. So we're painting that picture because all of this is done before you insert process. Process is we help business owners scale with content. But again, people will buy fucking anything if it solves their actual painful problem and fixes the actual problem that they have. Because your process is only tailored towards it's your mechanism. Going all the way back to the beginning of this video, the offer. The offer is only valuable once it's connected to the problem. So full transparency, if someone wants to grow their business, they may not even want to use content. They might want to do SEO, ads, they might want to do sell by chat, all that kind of shit. But we got to show them specifically how they can do that, okay? And I think the biggest thing for us is like we optimize for call funnels because it is the best way to basically just make the most amount of money, okay? So the issue here is you will actually meet a lot of resistance in DMs if you can't detail the problem and the pain. You're actually never going to book calls if you can't detail specifically the problem and the pain. You're going to hear all the common objections. I need to think about it. I need to speak to my partner. I need to wait till the next cycle of fundraising, all this bullshit, because you're not solving a bleeding neck problem. It's a nice to have. Whereas if we can get this right straight away, you'll solve a huge painful problem for people that people will want to go and work with you. So you don't want to push a call way too early in the conversation because they're just not going to take it. They're not going to take a call because the logic is, why would I? Why would I get on a call when I don't need what you have right now? What I need is my problem solved. So I would be quite light on the pushing on a call. So a lot of the guys that do sell by chat, I don't have anything inherently wrong with it, but there's a few things inherently wrong with sell by chat. One is that you can't gauge someone's temperature, where they currently are, where they want to get to, and all that kind of stuff. And then also you can't handle objections. Because if they come back with some basic objections, they can just simply not respond to you and then just completely bypass like quite literally everything. So you got to make sure that we're finding the pain and problem and then we're pitching the call. And the way we position the call is, look, everything we said to help you. Everything you said, we can definitely help you. Do you mind if I share how? We send over the call booking link, okay? And then we state specifically, look, please let me know when you're going to book in. I'm going to confirm on my end. I'll stay online. I'll be online now until you book in. Please let me know once you booked in and I'll confirm on my side. It's very important. And this is how we increase our surface area of luck because I want you guys to be able to just get in the groove, start messaging, build up this repository and data bank of just leads, sales, people just in your world. And then they're coming into the world and then they're ready to get the next step with you because we can basically shorten all of this period down and move all this period down into specifically like a few small steps. And then we can get people then on calls and you can start booking a shit ton of calls and just making a shit ton of money. Okay. So if you want to make a ton of money, keep listening because this is the real sauce. Okay. Because from here, we need to move into the pre-call qualification. So the most important part about here is getting people showing up on your calendar. There's some like crazy statistics about the people that hit confirm. Okay, so on your calendar, when the kind of little green tick when someone hits confirm, of those people that hit tick, 90% of them show up. The people that don't hit click, so they don't confirm, I think it's like 40% or 30% of them statistically show up on your calendar. So when they book, they're on a call. Okay, they're booking in. Most people just wait until they book a call, which is like literally the stupidest thing ever. You don't want to wait till someone books a call. You want to make sure that we pre-call qualify them and get them into the actual process, okay? So the steps to do this are very, very clear. There's a few steps. The first step, okay, is, so this is a call funnel, okay? This is like the call funnel overall. They book, okay? They confirm, right? They watch a thank you video. I'm going to show you this. They watch a VSL afterwards. Okay, so when they book, let's say the 100 will book over the course of like 2 months, 3 months. Okay, the people that confirm, we want to get them confirmed, right? Because people that confirm are going to show up. So let's just say like 90% of people confirm, right? So 90%. Okay, I take a step back. Hold on, cut that out. We don't mind. So when they book, we do a few things. They book, they get on the calendar. When they're on the calendar, we want to optimize two things: show rate and close rate, okay? And again, guys, if you want to really optimize this, sign up to the wait list for Aura, or just even at this point, if we're watching it, Aura could be released. We literally track and manage all of this inside of Aura. So when calls are booked, they come onto your calendar, they fill it into the software. You can see specifically who the person is, where all their details, all their call funnel details are all logged, okay? And then we get them to show up, right? Because the logic is if we can get people to show up by hitting confirm, so when they hit confirm, that will increase show rate, okay? Then we'll have a thank you video, which I'll show you after this. When they watch the thank you video, that'll increase show rate. These two things, the thank you video and the confirm, increase show rate. The VSL is your mechanism. If you don't have a VSL directly created, just use your top performing video that's a tactical video that showcases what you do, your method, your mechanism, all of that stuff, okay? This will increase close rate. And again, in Aura, you can see all this is all going to be dashboarded because, a lot of business owners, solo-led business owners or small teams, they're not tracking this shit because it's all manual. So what we're doing in Aura is we're automating all of this, and we're automating all of this so that it's just instant. So instantly you can see all your numbers, all your data, all the revenue generated, the leaks in your sales process, the leaks in your sales funnel, because the more that we can dial into this, the more money you're going to make. Because if you don't know the numbers, you're just guessing. You're quite literally guessing, okay? So this is the outline of the process, and now I'm going to show you the process in closer detail on my laptop. Now we're back to the Bible, and I'm going to show you the show up and close rate process, okay? Because they basically come in, and we want people to show up, okay? When they show up, they're going to hit firstly, we need to get them to confirm. So you're going to go back and say to them in DM, hey man, thank you so much for booking. Please hit confirm on your calendar so that you basically see it on your calendar. Because if you don't, it's going to hit spam. They hit confirm, fantastic. Then we can route them a video through automation with a ConvertKit, whatever, ConvertKit, Kajabi, Beehive, whatever. And we can put them on an email sequence. The first video to get it redirected to is this. It's a thank you video. In this video, I set the precedent. What they will expect, what they will achieve, what we're going to go through, who I am, what's the mechanism, what's the social proof, who they are, and why they should listen to me. And I tell them clearly that I will give them an offer on the call, and I will show them specifically on the call how I can help them. They can accept or reject, but by the end of the call, they're going to have an offer, okay? So that's going to improve the close rate. Show rate. When they say that, when you send over that video, you just say, let me know when you've watched the thank you video. They'll say yes. And then after that's sent over, we move into, they'll be on an email sequence. Okay. So they're going to be on an email sequence. They'll get a few things on emails. They'll get the thank you video. They'll get an expectation. So a bit of an FAQ. Is this for me? Who's this for? All this kind of stuff. They'll get a case study, and then they'll also get your story. Okay. So you want to have together your best case study. You can write it or you can record it. You're showcasing specifically how you can actually help people. And then your next email sequence then over a 24-hour period is is you, right? Is your origin story and is also the VSL. And then after they've confirmed, we want to send them the actual VSL. So for us specifically, I'm going to show you the full funnel end to end, okay? So let's just say I'm speaking with a prospect. They come in, they haven't hit the landing page, okay? So this is the landing page. The way the landing pages are built is that we have the dream outcome, we have this, we have a call funnel option here, and then we have the get started button. We saw social proof. 0 to 100K, social proof, social proof, social proof, FAQ, really valuable, and then book. So we booked them on, okay? So let's say we booked them on here. They come in, they put in their details, they put in all their details, which is super important. I'm going to come to optimizing it for a second. And then from here, they will come to the thank you video. So you come down here, thank you. And then here, they'll watch our thank you video, okay? And at the end of this, we would also send them a free training. And this is a full 30-minute training of our mechanism, our modality, and this is to improve close rate. So if they've watched this, they watched the thank you video, they are more than likely going to close, being fully transparent. And we ask people on calls too, have you watched this video? Have you gone into the details of it? Yes, no. If they have watched it, then they are more than likely going to close because they know exactly how we can help them. And I break this down. It's like a really, really long video. And there's also a get started button here as well, because if they come through a lead magnet funnel instead, okay? Which is very, very valuable. So if you think of those processes, you need to get people to get confirmed, you need to get people to show up, and then you need to get people to watch in the VSL. And then they come and they're ready to buy. They don't need a 2-call close. They don't need to go speak with someone. We go over all the details as to exactly what we're going to help them with. And then I'm going to walk you through the call funnel, okay? So when you're booking them in, you need to have like a call funnel like this, okay? So I'm using a software here. You don't need to worry about it too much. You just need to like send over a call funnel, and again, make it, the framing is very important. Here is exactly how we're going to help you. Please fill out the details so that we can best help you. We run one funnel only. One funnel through the front end, which is very, very valuable. They come in through the funnel, and then they fill out this application form. So specify their Instagram, LinkedIn, what's your total revenue right now, okay? So you got to think about this. Call funnels are like an alligator's mouth. If they're super tight and they have loads of restrictions, you're not going to get anything through there. You're not going to eat anything. If they're super open, you're going to eat a bunch of shit that you don't need. So you eat a ton of shit that you don't need. What we need to do is literally optimize for both. So we don't want to put time wasters who can't basically like afford our programs. So what we have is total revenue, so current revenue. Let's say 2K, right? What's your target revenue? 30K. Big gap. What best understands their current situation? Sorry, to best suit the solution to them. What's their capital to invest? Let's say it's 5-10K. Great. Working with Darren and the team carries a big commitment. We've helped 100 business owners scale their revenue. What best situation? This is a financial qualification question. I have the financial resources. I can get the financial resources. I do not have them. Let's say I have. Are you the key decision maker to join the call? Yes, no, no. And then why is now the best time to get started in here? So we used to have things like describe your problems, all this kind of stuff. But we're trying to optimize for throughput. There's a few questions here. Ding, ding, ding. And that's enough. Ideally, we could probably get rid of this because we kind of know where they're coming from already, because they're usually coming from a source that we know. We can probably search them somewhere, or they're coming from a specific source. So we got to make sure like that's super dialed in. So that's really valuable. We got to make sure we have that. So think about this. If you're running like a fitness offer, you might need less questions, just mainly checking like, have they invested in programs before? Are they used to investing in programs? Do they know that coaching carries a certain investment? Okay. Because then this comes into our lead call process, and then we know then that they've booked on a calendar. We know that we can help them. We know that how we can help them, and they have the content that's being hit in DMs that showcases exactly what we can do with them effectively. And then the only last part of this is the sales call. Okay, so I want to walk you through basically at a high level how we can actually do this, right? So I'm going to swap back to my iPad, and we're going to go through exactly the call blocks for you to follow. And this is going to be a full sales training for you to be able to mirror and exactly just nail. So we've got really, really, really good at running sales calls. And it is the big thing that unlocks the whole 80-20 in your business, right? Because yes, marketing is super important, and you need to have an amazing product, and you'll see in the next module how to build an amazing product and how to get amazing results. However, what's important too is having really good sales calls, because with a very good sales call, you can basically sell things that don't exist, right? And I think a lot of guys who are doing pre-launches and so on and so forth, and like launching products, and the best thing to do in the beginning is to sell something before it actually exists to know that your product market fit, okay? But that's neither here nor there. What I want to show you guys today is about how we run sales calls, how I've coached hundreds of people how to run our sales calls, how we've generated literally millions of dollars online from running our entire sales call process, okay? Now, I want to show you the tactics and the building blocks and the process, but I'm also going to show you the methodology, okay? Because there's an amazing book called Gap Selling, and gap selling is really about creating the gap for your prospect and showing how your solution can get there, okay? So a lot of my lessons I've learned from my own coaching, implementation, and how we do this. But I want to show you the concept of gap selling first, okay? So that you're able to go and implement a lot of the tactics and frameworks that we have, because tactics and frameworks are great and they're going to be amazing and you're going to love it and you're going to learn so much. But what I will say is that tactics and frameworks only bring you so far, okay? So you need to understand the concepts beforehand. So let's get straight into the iPad. So let's go over this. So gap selling is the mechanism from getting people to where they don't know you to the transformation, okay? So the way it works is basically, look at this. Down here, we have you, the prospect in the current state, okay? So let's just take an example of, let's say I want to lose body fat, okay? So the current state, and I'm the prospect, I'm overweight, okay? And I have a really bad relationship with food. I don't train. I'm out of shape. And I'm not confident, okay? So that's the current state. Now, the future state is up here. The future state is confident, lean, good relationship with food, and so on. Now, people intuitively notice that their product and service needs to bring them from a current state to a future state. But what's in between? What is the big gap in between that's separating you from your prospect from getting there? Now, let me walk through this, okay? Because the whole idea with gap selling is that, yes, we need to understand the current state, but how do we understand the current state, okay? And a big part about this is understanding the quantitative data, okay? As well as the qualitative data, okay? So let's give an example. When you're looking at the current state, you want to get deep into the numbers, and I mean super deep. So let's say if it is body fat, okay? Let's say they're overweight, okay? How far are they overweight? Let's just say they're 30 lb, okay? 30 pounds overweight. Let's say it's been a problem. How long has it been a problem? For 3 years, okay? They have zero confidence, okay? The qualitative is that they, again, low confidence, poor standard of living, okay? So we need to get into the details of this. How long has this been a problem for you? How deep has this been? What is the issue with this? Why is this a problem? Why do you feel like you need to make a change? What are all the qualitative pieces in the current state, okay? What is that current state right now? What actually is there? Where you need to get as deep as possible into there. And then looking at the future state in terms of two different mechanisms. One, it's going to be professional, okay? And then it's personal, okay? So let's just say someone who's overweight, okay? They want to lose weight so that they become better in their job. Okay, let's take a simple example. So as a professional, when they lose weight, they show up in their job more, they could progress better, okay? So they could advance in their career, make more money, basically become like the superhero they've always wanted, right? They professionally as well, they're going to have more confidence, okay? But then personally, what does that mean for you personally? If I'm more confident, well, I might want to run a marathon, okay? So what is that inside of here that the professional and personal goals? I'll have more confidence with my kids, confidence with kids, okay? And this goes deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Because the big thing with your offer is that you need to connect it personally, okay, down here with the qualitative data. And then on the future state, looking at the personal side and the professional side. So what does that mean for you? How does that fit into the broader ecosystem? And then we can also layer this up into this effect here. This is health, wealth, and relationships. Because every great product or service hits all three parameters. If I am overweight and I want to lose weight, that's going to improve my health bracket. But then I'll become more confident and I'll speak to women more and my kids at a better level and all this kind of stuff. I can play with my kids. That'll hit the relationship piece, okay? So, and then on a wealth side, I'll have more money because I'm not spending money on like Burger King. And then I also will be able to show up in my job better. I'll get a promotion. People will respect me more, and it hits all three verticals. Now, I just made that up. I literally just made this up. Let's look at health, wealth, and relationships from a biz op offer, from a business opportunity, all right? Wealth, I'll help you make more money with your business. Health, I'll give you back more time so that you can go to the gym, focus on a sauna, recovery, your mental health, you're not in a 9 to 5. And relationships, you will be able to develop a better network and connect to people, okay? Let's look at a podcast offer. I will help you launch your podcast. That will build your relationship, build your network. That will build your health because your mental health will improve. And that will build your wealth because I'll also be able to help you make more money with your podcast, okay? Insert anything, man. Let's look at a relationship offer. So let's say if I'm a dating coach. Dating coach, I help you get more dates, hits the relationship bucket, okay? Let's say that also improves my health because then I'm going to go to the gym, get more fit, start running more, have better hobbies. And then on the wealth side, because I'm not spending money on like a bunch of dumb dates, I have my health in check, my wealth, my relationships in check. I can focus more on my business. So I am always connecting every single thing I do to health, wealth, and relationships, Always. No matter what I'm doing, I always do this. Like whether it's okay, let's take another example. So let's say if it's like B2B software enterprise that does like compliance software. If I know, okay, that in here, this is having a big impact on a qualitative data perspective, okay? Let's go back here. So let's just say there's a future state. If I know that my software solution means that the company is leaking, let's say 3 million a year, okay? And I know that I can make them 5 million a year, okay? Now, that's great. That's great on a professional level. But to the person that I'm selling to, they are stressed, overwhelmed, okay? And if they get this right, they're going to basically, at this point of getting this right, they're going to get a promotion and they'll have more respect, okay? At a high level. I'm just making this up. I'm literally making this up. So if I'm selling to someone a software solution, I would connect with them, understand the problems, all the pains down here. I would paint a future state for them, so what they're going to get to. I would look at what that means personally, and then I would look at how this fits into health, wealth, relationships. Okay? So, wealth. This person is going to make more money, and as a result of making more money, they'll become more wealthier. They will get promoted, so their relationships will improve, their status, perceived status in the organization, so on, will improve, and their health will improve because they're not stressed anymore. So they're stressed, gone, overwhelmed, gone, promotions in check, and so on. So I am always selling to that because the key decision maker will buy it based on that. That's what they're going to buy. They're going to buy the journey, okay? Now, let's go a bit deeper, okay? Because when the promotion's in check and then let's say the status is there, okay? Now, I can't just be like, buy my product. So what we need to do is we need to go through a discovery process, and I'm going to help you show like the logistical part of this, right? But the discovery process, from here, we're going to start introducing the path, okay? Because your unique solution has to come under a few different things, which is one, the problem, okay? The impact, and the root cause. Okay? Because under these, in here, I can start to pair this together. Because from the current state, we need to understand the problem. What actually is the problem? So let's take the example of being overweight again, right? If you're overweight, the problem is poor diet, no training, okay, at a high level, right? That's a problem. We agree that's a problem. We understand that's a problem. And we understand that's been a problem for so many years. That's an important point, right? Duration of problem is super important. From there, then, we look at the impact. What is the impact of this being a problem, okay? Confidence, self-esteem, low self-worth, bad genetics, bad blood type, not bad genetics, just bad lifestyle factors. So lifestyle factors overall, okay? So that's very important, which is what's the impact? Because again, under pain, problem, solution, no one is going to buy anything unless they understand that there's an impact, right? Because if I knew that drinking apple juice was like bad for me, but I didn't feel it, I would just still keep drinking apple juice every single day. But if I knew that I'd wake up, I'd have like acidic stomach and it would spike my cortisol and my insulin would rise because of the sugar levels and everything, to drink processed, like literally apple juice every single day, I would stop that process because I understand that the event, the input has a problem which has an impact on me, okay? Again, people only give a shit about them. So what is the impact that it has? Because otherwise it's just pointless, okay? And then we need to look at the root cause. So the root cause is why? Why is this a problem? And again, so for the diet situation, it might be education. It might be, probably not. Decision making. It could be, again, like confidence is such a big thing for fitness offers, confidence. It could just be habit, bad habits, okay? And it could be like addiction. So funnily enough, bad food actually is an addiction. So Then we know that that is that, which is then leads to future state, which is where do I want to get to? Where in here did I pitch my product? None. I haven't pitched my product anywhere here. All of this discovery process just focuses on what the prospect is doing wrong. Finding out what their current state is, okay? Looking at the problem objectively. Is this a problem? Yes. Is there an impact on my life? Yes. What's the root cause on this? Consultative selling, advising people what's best, and then looking at the future state, where can they get to? And this is a very fair thing to do, right? Because the thing with this is that if you're doing this process, you're actually not going to be pitching a product, and you're just going to make way more money. Because if I speak to you and I'm saying, look, full transparency, from working with 500 people that were once overweight, and I know exactly the process to overcome that, I know how to do this. Do you mind if we have a call? You would say yes. And I'd say, okay, John, just walk me through the current state. Tell me everything that's going on. Walk me through the numbers right now. Walk me through like the current process. How does that feel? How does that impact you? And you'd say X, Y, Z. And then I'd walk through, okay, why is this a problem? How long has this been a problem, John? What's the issue with this? Has this been a problem for long? Yes, it's been a problem for like X amount of years, X amount of months and so on. Okay, because this is now a problem, what's the impact it's having? I find it tough to get girls. I find it tough to go to the gym. I can't go outside. Okay, fair. Now, what's the root cause? Insecurity. I was bullied as a child, all the usual stuff. And then what's the future state then? Where do you want to get to? Okay? Because once I have this detailed out, it's so much easier to go through the process. So you have to learn this start to finish. You have to understand how people buy and why people buy in a certain way, so that now we can move into the next stage. Because the next stage is quite as simple as understanding how to run the calls. I'm going to give you some of the scripts for this. I'm going to show you some of the scripts, but I want to show you the full process, right? Which is going to be split into two different components. One, there is pre-pitch, and then this is post-pitch, okay? So what I want to show you guys today is when you're understanding exactly what just happened, okay, which is understanding what gap selling is and why prospects actually buy things. Now we are now on the call, okay? So they get to the call, they're on the call, they're all excited. They have their guard up, they feel a bit kind of overburdened, and now we have to help them see why your product is the best solution for them, okay? So what happens here is we have to get a series of questions that is pre-pitch that handle all the objections for post-pitch, okay? Because when you give the pitch as to what you do, we want to break this out into what happens before the pitch and after the call and after the pitch. So this is broken up into call blocks. People call them different terms, right? The biggest thing that we're trying to do is find out a few things, which is problem, pain, duration, okay? Then we'll also have things like FQ, financial qualification, FQ, self-admission, okay? And then temperature checks, okay? So I'm going to go through this. I'm going to go through this also in Google Docs as well, so you're going to see it. But I want to walk you through this at a high level, okay? Because someone books a call. When they book a call, we put in all our details. We know exactly what's best fit for them and so on and so forth. We hop on a call and it's very simple. It's like, thank you so much, John, for booking a call. I really appreciate that. What's the one problem that we could solve for you right now that basically, I can help you with today? So what's the bleeding neck problem that I can solve? Because we're trying to find out what the problem is. And they might say, well, look, we're not getting leads, or I'm overweight, or I can't get dates, all this kind of stuff. So what's the problem? Okay, there's one main specific problem. So, okay, John, it sounds like from everything you told me that being overweight is a problem. How long has this been a problem for you? Okay, how long has it been a problem? Well, it's been a problem for, let's say, 2 months or 3 months. Okay, got it. So you can't get leads for 2 or 3 months. How much of an impact or pain does this have on your business right now? It has quite a big impact because as a result, we can't make money. We're actually decreasing in revenue and so on. So then I would pause, okay? Get more details on the numbers. Where are you currently, revenue-wise? Where do you want to get to? How much of a gap has it been to get there? Why is this an issue? how long is the duration of an issue of being a problem, okay? And we really want to focus in on this. And a big part about this is getting them to admit that they have a problem. Self-admission always shows up in calls, okay? So you have this problem, you can't get leads. Do we both agree that that's a problem? Yes. Okay. How long has it been a problem? 3 or 4 months. Okay. Do we both agree that the fact that because it's been a problem for 3 or 4 months, it's having a big impact on top line revenue? Absolutely. And John, just before we go any further, can you tell me why aren't you able to solve this problem yourself? And then they will literally say, well, if I knew how to solve my problem, then I wouldn't be here. Okay. So we want to basically get problem, get pain, get them to agree, get into the duration of the problem, get them to agree that this is the problem that they need solving, consultative selling, showcasing them exactly how they should do things, and then stopping and looking at financial qualification. Okay. So this is a big thing that we do that most people don't do, which is when we pick the pain and we found that there's an issue, okay? They know that there's an issue. We stop. And what we do very differently here is say, okay, no problem at all. Before we go forward, I just want to make sure that there's no one else involved in the call. I know it's said from your application that you're the key decision maker, but of course, I want to respect your time. And if someone gets back and they say, wow, that's super intrusive, like, why are you asking me these things? It's because you say that, look, I don't want to do the discovery process twice. I know if there's someone else that we need to do this again. So I don't want to redo this process again with someone else. So can you let me know if there's anyone else involved? And then they will say, yes, no, or whatever, and then just re-qualify financially as well, and just say, yeah, and just before we move on forward as well, it said from your application process, you have roughly like 5K to invest. If this makes sense to you, does that make sense to move forward? Yes, totally fine. Because if someone says, oh, why are you asking me this? It's because we don't want to waste our time on a call, and we always want to use you language. I want to make sure this is a priority for you. I want to make sure I'm not wasting your time. And the more that we can specify that, the better, okay? And then we keep moving forward. We get self-admission, okay? Part of this process too, which is like, look, it sounds like we can 100% help you. This is everything that we've outlined so far. Do we both agree that this is all the problem that we've solved? Okay, that's the problem. We've overcome the financial qualification objection. Okay, more on that in a minute. We've overcome that. We've overcome the decision maker. We've overcome the money. We've shown that there's pain and doubt. And then I would stop and get a temperature check. So the first temperature check that we do is here, which is saying, all right, John, since from everything you told me, we can definitely help you. Where do you want me to go from here? I can run you through how we can help you. If you want, ask for permission. They will say, yes, I would love that. Just before we move any forward, you're happy with everything so far, everything makes sense, nothing to need to clarify on, perfectly fine. And then we move into post-pitch. This is when we deliver the pitch. Because now, in here, okay, put a block here. This is when we deliver the pitch. So in the pitch, we'll go through the process. So depending on what they said, okay? So if someone says to me they're not getting leads, their offer is probably not great, okay? So we'll dive into that and I'll figure out that the offer is what I want to fix with them. So I will focus the pitch on the offer, which is like, look, we help you build an ecosystem. We'll focus on helping you get more leads. We'll improve the offer. We'll dial in the offer. We'll make sure that that's exactly what we're going to focus on. That's going to be our first 3-in-1 process. We're going to work on the offer, make sure that it's irresistible, make sure the pricing is right, get that right, look over your shoulder, do all the reviews. And also on top of that, we will help you with content and sales. Because they're not buying the content and sales, they're buying the painful problem that they're solving, which is the lead flow issue in the beginning, okay? That's the problem that they have, or at least that they point out that they have, okay? Whether they have that problem or not, you go deeper in the call to see, is that the problem or is it a different problem? And then at this point, then we move into the next stages, okay? Because we deliver the pitch, we just go over what the process is of how we could help people, and we don't share the price because we have problem, pain, process, price. We've taken care of problem, pain, process now, and then we want to do temp check, okay? Temp check here is, okay, so this is the process. We're going to help you with the leads. From everything that I told you right now, how does this sound? 1 to 10. 10, amazing, ready to get started. 1, you hate me, I'm ready to block you on Facebook. You want to make it lighthearted, make it quite chill. They'll say, oh, I'm like about a 6. And you say, okay, well, what can I do to bring you up to an 8 or a 9 or a 10? If you're anything below like a 7 or 8, that's actually a bit of an issue, right? Because that means you haven't done your discovery in the right way. So they will say, oh, I want to know about when are the calls and what's the deliverables and all that kind of shit. So we want to explain all that process. And then once that's finished, we want to make sure we ask again, anything else about the process that you've questions on? No. Okay, cool. Then we move into investment. Okay, so investment is next, which is in here. So I for investment. And we'll go through the process. Now, we do not want to bend for payment plans. Payment plans are an excuse for weak closing. So you want to go through the process like, hey, like the incubator is 6K. This is what you're going to get. This is the investment. This is the transformation that we're going to help you on. We'll help you go from 0 to 30K a month or whatever with this process in here. And then they'll say, that's fantastic. Okay, that's great. Or that's a lot of money. And then we move into objection handling, okay? Because at this point down here, we now transition into the last block, which is going to be objection handling. So the typical objections from here about the investment, 1 is going to be cost, 2 is going to be time, then it's going to be split pay, and then it's going to be like something like commitment. Okay? And then there's also going to be like partner objection. And think about it, okay? So let's go through this one-to-one. So let's say you deliver the pitch, okay? And then once you deliver the pitch, it's in a good position. And now we got to get to the point where we get people over the line, okay? So at this point, you'll get hit with it. I need to think about an objection. So I literally just say, what do you need to think about? Because if they've booked a call, they've waited 3 days, they're in DM, they've watched your videos, they've been thinking about it. Before they hopped on a call, they had to think about it. They had to go to their calendar and click on it. So it's like, I would say something like, what do you think about? They would say, well, I don't really make these decisions. It's like, okay, do you not always make big decisions on the call? And say, no, I don't make the decision on the call. So it's like, let's talk through that decision. What is stopping you right now from getting started? What would make you a 10? What would make this an irresistible offer for you to get moving on? They would say things like, oh, like, if I could have like X, Y, Z and all this kind of stuff. So we want to make sure that we include that, okay? We overcome that. We isolate the objection and say, well, okay, so this is how we can help you. This is how we'd get you here. This is the benefit of doing it effectively. The other issue then is going to be financial partner, okay? So we have pre-handled that up here with the financial qualification because we said there's nobody else involved, no other decision maker. So they cannot get off the call to go speak to someone else because we've actually handled that objection back here, which is like, look, man, you said at the beginning of the call, there's no one else involved. There's no spouse, business partner, random dog you need to talk to. So as a result, we can handle that objection in here, which is taken care of, okay? So that handles that objection. This is pre-handling. So we pre-handle these, which is in here, okay? Then the other thing about cost, okay? So if someone has an issue about how much it costs, well, the future state hasn't been painted clearly enough, which is basically we've shown everything that we can get you there, okay? The investment is 6K. The cost is a 25K that you're going to miss, okay? So as a result, we need to qualify the cost, making sure that we understand the upside. Time, so time investment. Again, if anyone can allocate 2 to 4 hours a week for their business, they're not going to be like successful, let's be clear, for their education. And then split pay. So split pay is often a crutch for people then that are just not willing to sit in the awkwardness, which is if someone's like, yeah, do you have split pay? It's like, yeah, we have financing options. They are available. But what I want to understand is this an issue with the split pay or is this an issue with the process? Because it said that you have 5K to invest. It said that you want to make 100K a month. Does someone who makes 100K a month want to split pay a 5K program? Not really. So what is that issue? How can we solve that issue? And how can we isolate the issue specifically? Because if we can isolate the issue, we'll be off to an amazing start and we'll be able to actually really, really handle this. So I'm going to show you now through Google Docs how this looks, and I'm going to give you those documents too. Okay, so now that we're back into Google Docs, this is going to be the process, right, for the call funnels. So specifically around the call funnels, how we can utilize these, and then how you can actually review your own calls, okay? So in here, again, as I mentioned in the beginning, just something very lightweight, build rapport. So where you're calling in from, identify the problem. So want me to book a call today? What's the biggest thing slowing you down right now? If I could wave a magic wand, what could I help with, okay? Then looking at causing pain and doubt. So it sounds like you've been stuck for X months. What happens if nothing changes? What have you been doing to try to tolerate this, to overcome this? Then looking at financial qualification. So just be transparent. I ask everyone is to avoid wasting your time. Again, I highlight your because this is actually about wasting my time. Most people we help are ready to invest in themselves in the next 30 days. Is that you? And then trigger imagination. So again, future pacing. Where do you want to get to? What is the ultimate goal? What's the big number you want to hit? What happens? What opens up in your life if you want to get this? And then self-admission. So why haven't you solved this problem yet? And how can you actually solve this problem going forward? Again, check for decision makers. Does anyone else need to be involved in decision making? If yes, reschedule. Transition to the pitch. So got it based on everything you said. We can definitely help you. Do you want me to walk through how I can help you? And then deliver the pitch. So again, specify less how. So show less how of how you'll help them, more wow. So we follow this framework. We get these results. We get them in this way. We help people in this way. Here's a case study. Here's an example. Okay. And then temperature check. So looking at temperature check. Looking at the verbal commitment. So price was an issue. Does everything sound good? Explain next steps. So after payment, we'll get you access to your client portal. We'll get you set up with your coach. We'll have a one-to-one meeting, and then reveal the investment. So here's investment. Here's how it's handled, and so on and so forth. And then isolate the objections, money objections. Clarifying like little things like, when the calls are, when the meetings are, all this kind of stuff, okay? And then looking at specifically how we can do this. And then the next point here for you guys to review your calls is looking at, do you hit this checklist every single week? So when you're doing your calls, are you hitting all of these checklists? And I have a checklist tracker in here for you to just make sure that you hit, okay? Same with your setters. Are they responding to everyone? Are they hitting everyone's details and so on and so forth? And also the qualification process. So all of our checklists are actually in here, which is huge. But I also want to show you this, which is going to be your ChatGPT prompts, okay? Because every time you record a sales call, you have to record the call, the transcript and the call. And then you're going to run the call through ChatGPT 3.0 or the latest ChatGPT at the time you're watching this, which is basically saying, as a sales manager of a coaching business doing $1 million a month, analyze the call with the following framework. So rapport, discovery, gap creation, financial qualification, pitch and offer, objection handling, closing. Okay. Then it will break out this huge spit, and then you go again. So as a sales manager, review my call in this way. You're going to get this huge report, huge report, and review every single call. If you review the calls and you put them into a doc, the analysis, I'll review the analysis. That's my promise to you. I'll go in and review the analysis if you share the analysis with me. And then similarly here, so again, pitch and objection handling and a prompt on this, and then this is an overall scorecard. And then do this and learn every single session how to get better, how to improve, what's the next steps. And I guarantee you'll be able to close anything after your next 30 calls. So the last section inside this is going to be metrics, right? So whether it's your content, whether it is your sales, whether it's your delivery, a huge point on this, as always, is going to be tracking, okay? Tracking is going to be super important always. So I want you guys to do this stuff, but I really want you to track your stuff, because if you don't track your stuff, you're really guessing. And let me just tell you a personal story here. So obviously I've been in the space for half a decade, okay? And in the beginning, I was almost scared of the data. I was scared to track my stuff. I was scared to track my calls. I was afraid that like my show rate would be through the floor and my close rate would also be through the floor. So because I was scared to do it, I didn't do it. But the second I did it, I immediately got better and everything just improved. Because when you look at the numbers, no matter how good or bad that they are, you will just do things that are different. So my analogy is, if you're trying to lose weight and if you do nothing but just stand on the weighing scales every single day, you actually will lose weight, because you won't eat Burger King, you'll eat an apple. You'll start to walk versus get, the elevator. You'll just make conscientious decisions subconsciously to make you better. So this is why recording your sales calls is super important, because if you record your sales calls with the idea that someone reviews them one day, maybe a closer will come in and review them one day, you'll actually record them way better. You'll be more confident. You'll have a pep in your step. You'll just be better. And that's what I want you to do as well with this. So I'm going to show you a DM tracking system, and then I'm also going to show you a sales tracking system, okay? This is the two things you need. It's a simple sales tracker. You have to do it, okay? So On this panel down here, I have the month and then I have the week of, okay? So presuming you don't work weekends, even though I advise everyone to work weekends, what you should do is this, okay? So one thing I want to show in here is we have the averages. Awesome, okay? So basically, let's say this is a DM process. My advice, genuinely, I'm going to be totally transparent with you, is if you want to make the most amount of money in the world right now for your offer, you have to be doing at least 50 a day, new messages, and 50 follow-ups, okay? 50 new messages, 50 follow-ups. And then let's say on Tuesday, you did like 40, and let's say you did on 20, and then you did 10 on Thursday, and you did 5 on Friday. Okay, so this is, you've hit roughly 125 leads, new leads, okay? This is excluding follow-ups, because follow-ups should be done no matter what. These are your follow-ups that are signaled from your CRM that you need to like actually be following up people. And let's say from here, you book, so to give a bit of context, this concept follows a framework called LAPS, which is leads, appointments, which is bookings, so calls booked, presentations, which is show rate, and then basically sales, which is obviously sales. So let's say you hit 125 people, and let's just say you book 7 meetings in a week. That means conversation to call, so DM to call, is roughly 5%. 5% of the people that you speak to, you can get on calls, which is pretty good, right? That's actually a pretty good number. So let's just say that's 5%. That's really good. Now, let's say of that 7, 5 show up. Your show rate is 71%. So now 29% have gone missing of this booking, which would indicate to me that the sales call process or the funnel process isn't dialed in enough. The thank you video isn't strong enough. The triaging isn't good enough. The problems, even in the DM setting, wasn't strong enough initially to get them onto calls. And then let's say down here, of the 5, you close 2, which is 40%. It's a very good show rate, okay? Let's see how this scales out a small bit, okay? So let's just take a few different examples. Let's just do 30, 30, 30, 30. That's too high. Let's do 60 and let's do 50. So you ramp it up, okay? Let's say you book 10 people. Now your booking rate's the same. But let's say of that 10, 8 showed, okay? We see how this aggregates down. And then of that 8, we have 2. So 25% show rate. So now we know that it's kind of like basically, it's like the math is matting, right? Because what's going to happen here is all the data you'll run in every single week, and then you'll see how much appointments. So appointments will say, I have a note on this. How many calls you booked, okay? Presentations, great. And then we have the show rate in here, okay? So that's super important. This is your DM setting. Then when the calls are booked, this is most important, is this. I've built this from scratch for you guys. So let's say the prospect name is Tom Spark. The closer is, let's say you, okay, Darren Lee. What the offer is, I put this in for our offers. So let's say it's an incubator. What's the traffic source? Is it cold traffic, warm traffic? Cold traffic is ads. Just keep it simple. Cold traffic, ads, warm traffic, organic content. Just keep it very simple. Contact platform. Instagram, LinkedIn, ads. So let's just say it's cold traffic, and let's just say it's ads. And the prospect's name is Tom. And then let's say it is today. Did they show? Yes, no, disqualified, cancelled. So disqualified means we disqualified them. Cancelled means they cancelled it. Okay. Closed, yes, no, disqualified, cancelled. And then objection, money, logistics, partner, fear, smokescreen, cancelled, and so on. And then cash collected, how much money was made. So let's say it was 5K on the call. So 5K. And then let's say that person over their lifetime bought another mastermind for 3K. So then this is 8K in total. Okay. Meeting notes. So again, add your notes here. Call recording, add a link to Zoom, add the transcript, and add the ChatGPT score in here. And link the ChatGPT score here. So you see the calculation, okay? So now let's just take an example. So let's just run this up a small bit, okay? Just give a bit of an example. Let's just say I have a bunch of different calls, okay? So let's keep it very simple. Shown, no. Didn't close. And there's all the different objections. Okay. And then here, disclose. Let's say this is 3K. 3K. And let's say 0, 0, 0, 0. 5K, 5K didn't ascend. Let's say 0, 0. And then say 2K, 2K. And then 0, 0. Okay. Now we have more data. Total bookings, 9. Total shown, 6. Because it's finding the show rate, close rate, for close rate 66%. Total cash collected, 15K. Total back-end cash. Okay. Very, 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 very smooth. And then we can see then, you know, the details in here. Awesome. So this is the process. This is it. This is all you need. I really, really want you to review this. So now you can see clearly exactly how you can run your sales calls and how you can basically make more money with this entire process to be able to scale your online business. So this is everything you're ever going to need. You have the right content to be created. You have the right offer to create. You know exactly how to run your calls. You just need to repeat the process again and again and again and again. And this is literally how you can scale your business to 30K, 50K, 100K, even further beyond that, right? So this is literally everything that you ever need. And I think just to invite you to basically schedule some time with our team down below to map out exactly how we can implement this with you and also how we can coach you with this, because the best system in the world means nothing without actual implementation. So now that you have all the keys to the castle, we want to make sure that we just deliver that with you in a super clear and concise way. So please check out all the content down below. Please book in a call with the team. And from here, let's scale your online business.